super dimensional strategy starting with Batman. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 177th Monster Rampage. As the audience thought, various virtual images popped up in front of the two drivers. It looks more and more like a game. This relieved everyone's tension a little. Then the dangerous vagabond was unhooked, and the slots on the bracket were disengaged one by one. That kind of strange crisp mechanical sound, listening to the men's blood boil. After all, men who don't like mechas are really rare in this world, and they are still such huge and handsome. Mecha Spider-Man called out directly, "It's so handsome, Mr. Stark. Can you make a mech this big?" Iron Man said with a sullen face. "It's not necessary at all. We have no monsters to fight in this world." He was very depressed because he still hadn't seen what kind of black technology the body of these mechas used to support such huge amounts of the body. The technology in this world seems to be similar to your own world, doesn't it? Is it out of material science originally? Their world has our world without metal, seeds like vibranium. On the screen, the hatch of the dangerous vagabond opened, and at that moment, a gust of wind rushed toward the face. The waves crashed against the shore, and the waves were like snow. It was the time of the storm. And the outside of the plane is actually a sea. Also, these monsters are from the sea, and this is the front line. The dangerous wanderer went straight down the sea in this way. Every step of the way, a big wave was set off in the sea, and the sea barely drowned his knees. The turbulent waves could not stop it at all, nor could it shake it at all. Just this move out of the warehouse can see people's adrenaline soaring directly. So handsome. Ultra large mechas are inherently attractive. Soon, a small island appeared on the sea ahead. No, that's not an island. That's the body of a sickle monster. Its body is twice the size of a whale, and it can actually swim in the sea. Then the monster stood up from the sea, and its head actually sprayed water like a whale. It has a horn on its head that looks like a machete, or that's where the scythe came from. It happened that there was a fishing boat next to it, and it got up and took the huge waves to the front. At this time, the fishermen on the boat were horrified to find that there was also a huge amount of figure on the opposite side, which was the dangerous vagabond. The dangerous wanderer grabbed the fishing boat directly in its hands in the cab. The phantom of a fishing boat appeared in Raleigh's hands, and they used this method to identify things outside. Putting the boat out, the dangerous wanderer fought the sickle head. It was actually the most primitive way to fight Mullally. The muffled sound of the steel hitting the monster is like thunder, and every blow is thrilling. This saw that people were very confused. Although the punches to the flesh seem to be very cool, why not use weapons? Since the mecha's fist can deal damage to monsters, other things should also be able to. Is it immune to energy attacks? Only physical damage. At this time, Raleigh before the video said, the blood of monsters is poisonous, and it will cause ecological disasters if it flows in the sea or on the ground. So, as long as possible, we all want to kill them without bleeding. On the screen, the battle between the two behemoths stirred up countless waves. It was as if a tsunami had formed. Suddenly the head of the sickle bit the hand of the dangerous wanderer, and it couldn't break free. Raleigh had to use weapons. The fist of his right hand opened immediately, showing a circle of blue brilliance, hitting the belly of the insert head. Knocking it over, they used plasma cannons, and the belly is the monster's weak spot. The monster's weakness can't withstand this kind of attack. At this time, the base also detected their actions. The commanders were very angry because they went against their previous combat strategy. But Raleigh disagreed because they both defeated the monster and saved the crew, so why not? At this moment, Mr. Teng, the logistics support intelligence officer of the base, shouted, "The monster's index has risen rapidly, and that guy is still alive." The commander immediately ordered, "Leave immediately with the boat. Hurry." Immediately. The bombardment of the iron cannon that the belly of this monster could carry hard was a bit unexpected. Ask for flowers 0. So commander wants to act cautiously and collect as much information on monsters as possible. But at this moment, the monster jumped up from the water. Who would have thought that such a huge amount of body could actually dive underwater? and jump out of the water like a fish at a very fast speed. The left arm of the dangerous wanderer was directly bitten. Lori turned on the plasma cannon in her left arm, but was bitten off by the monster again. Their nerves are connected to the mecha, and it can be said that the mecha is their body. Raleigh's arm was broken, and Raleigh felt the same way, and the nerves of the two were connected together, and the severe pain caused them to perform abnormally. Then the monster's claws penetrated the cockpit, and brother Yangtze was directly carried away by the monster. 0 With the loss of his brother, Raleigh could not bear such a nerve-wracking load alone. The beaten retreated. The dangerous wanderer was almost taken apart. But at the last moment, Eluoli worked hard to open the plasma cannon of the other arm and finally killed the monster. The audience fell silent. What a brutal battle. Before the video, Raleigh opened his mouth wide and watched all this in disbelief. Brother will die. How is it possible? How could my brother be so strong to die? He was a little unacceptable, and the whole person was stunned. Finally, Professor X comforted, don't worry, this will happen in the future. Now that you know, you can prevent this from happening again. Hearing this, Raleigh cheered up. He was a strong-willed man, otherwise he wouldn't be able to fly the dangerous vagabond. He clenched his fists, and now that I know, I won't make the same mistake. Even if there is no guide, I know that this information is worthy of my advance request. At this time, the narration sounded, Yangtze is dead, and the dangerous wanderer is defeated, which caused an uproar in the whole world. They felt that the monster hunters could no longer defeat the monsters, so they started another program, the Pacific Rim Defense Program. They are going to build a wall on the sea to keep the monsters from invading. 7. Chapter 178. The purpose of the 170th 8 chapters. Monster rode straight stretch himself no longer. Before the video he growled, it's not fair, we won 4 times, we only lost once. In his view, such behavior directly on top of the monster hunter before deny the value of everything, as in this way, his brother is sacrificed in vain. Megan looked and shook his head. It's stupid. You still do not understand such a monster actually came up with such a decision. Direct. To give up your ocean of material, but also rich than the land. More importantly, how do you determine these monsters can be blocked by the wall? 2. Know that earlier in sea monsters can be upstream, and if there is a monster can fly. I'm not curious. You see the previous head of the sickle mouth when it zero emerged in the mouth of the blue. It is obviously possible to use some kind of energy attacks, so huge amounts of body muscles alone is not enough. They have other sources of energy. It can attack energy evolved organ, then it evolved anti-gravity organ is not impossible. Calmly say, you really put their wall blocked. You do not kill these monsters. More and more of these monsters, when they pyramid way you can climb the walls from the past. Directly spawned the devil Megan family. Have a say in this regard. Is very point. Her argument is simply a sharply point the United States Captain Comfort. Raleigh, do not be sad. High rises like this, they always make the most stupid decision. This he always empathy. A crowd nodded, and so could not help. In their view, the Circum-Pacific Defense Plan simply passive defense. Monster Hunter gave up plans more fragrant. Really there is a mistake. Then what resistance monster? Do you also add in all the land on the cover, not the entire planet to cover up? Narrator continued. Because of the failure to cancel the plan Monster Hunter, Raleigh lost their jobs. He has become a hero. Dock workers welded steel pipe in the Pacific Defense Plan. Everyone heard these words directly to his head. Magneto laughed. That is like this. They do not remember their hero. When there is trouble comes, they will be grateful hero. But when difficulties disappear, they will be cast aside hero. Although Magneto's words did not sound good, but at this moment, no one to contradict him. Narrator continued. However, the general commander of Point Coast Monster Hunter, but has not given up plans, until one day at a wall directly break the monster, and the coast general panned men driving a monster hunter. We will defeat the monster. In this time mankind finally understand, cannot defend the anti, so the monster hunter restart plan. Their plan is the entrance once and for all solve the monster. Screen. Switching point. A man with a cane appeared in the picture with a virtual projection in front of him, and he was demonstrating to General Penskust, saying, this passage is formed between our world and their world. It must also be made of atoms, and the more monsters come, the faster the channel will last, as long as we can drop a 2,400 pound nuclear bomb in it. When the channel is open, the power is enough to destroy this space channel point at this time. Another man wearing glasses who was studying the monster organization said, I have to say one thing. With only such little information, I will definitely break into the channel of the monster. Ashley, General, why do we grade monsters? Because each of them is completely different, right? But these two pieces are monster tissues I took from different places, and their genes are exactly the same. So I think these monsters are actually clones. We know too little about monsters, and here is a monster's cerebellum. If we can use the monster hunter's neural connection technology to connect us with the monster's brain, then we can find a way to really pass through the channel. Apparently, it's the scientists of the two monster hunter programs, one of them advocates blowing up the passage directly with a black bomb, and using a black bomb twice the equivalent of a large Ivan to force the brick to fly. Point the other is to connect nerves with monsters, get information about monsters, and know ourselves and enemies. Batman said, monsters want to invade the earth. There is always their purpose. If you connect with their brain, you can not only know their purpose, but also know how to get through the channel. If I were that commander, I would choose option 2. Moreover, if the monsters are clones, then there must be someone behind them, which is the most troublesome. If someone tells you to blow up the tunnel, won't they open the second one? Although the connection to the monster's brain sounds bizarre, everyone nodded, thinking that Batman was right, because the first solution is too vague. The first PhD didn't even build a complete data model, only goose walk. The narrator continued, General Pank Scott ultimately chose the first option. Hopefully, the black bomb can be thrown into the fast lane with the dangerous wanderer. He recalled Raleigh. Raleigh's brother died, and he got a new partner, Morimiko, but another scientist, although not supported, insisted on having a synesthesia with the monster's brain. On the screen, the previous scientist was already haggard, and all 7 orifices spurted blood. But he said excitedly to General Pank Scott, I feel it, although not completely. They attack 0.7 our world, not following their instincts, not to gather and hunt. They come by order. Their masters are a group of interstellar colonists. They occupy various worlds, exhaust the resources of this world, and then turn to the next target. Now these first level, second level, third level, and fourth level monsters are just scouts, nothing at all. They were sent just to clean up the humans, and when the humans were cleared, the real inhabitants should come. Upon hearing this, the audience was silent. Raleigh is not helping close the face on a 3 monster so terrible that even more terrifying monsters. How to do that? Outside tired today, not the state. Brothers, sorry, my people have cooked. Chapter 179. You're looking at us, aren't you? Just when everyone was silent. On Raleigh's side, an alarm sounded. Dangerous wanderer, speed to dock 8, 42nd floor area. Monster. Codename, Sicklehead. Level 3. Weighing about 8,700 tons. Everyone was stunned. This is the first time they have encountered a video guide screen appearing in front of everyone. Hearing this voice, Louise's brother Yangzi sat up, rubbed his eyes and said, it's only after 2 o'clock. Louise, you are already up. His reaction was calm, as if he didn't see the virtual projection screen in front of Raleigh. Raleigh pointed to the virtual projection screen in front of him and said, didn't you see it? Yang Z patted his head. Why? You still want to make fun of me at this time? Ready to change clothes? The audience was once again stunned. Batman said, the last time Diana came to find me, she could see the projection screen. Obviously, this sight can choose to be seen or invisible. Keisha said, this stuff is amazing. Raleigh himself took a deep breath and said, this can't be closed, so I can only go to the battlefield with this. Yangzi rubbed his head again. It's about to go to the battlefield, and you're still talking about it here? Concentrate. They have won the monster 4 times, although they have won the first 4 times. But this time, if 13 is careless, it will not work. The audience watched as they changed into their combat uniforms, walked into the cockpit, and drove out with a dangerous vagabond. Spider-Man said, cool. This is the first time I've actually seen such a large robot fight, although It is also seen on the screen. This time it is a live broadcast. Iron Man said to Spider-Man very solemnly, "Son, going to the battlefield is not a game. It must be taken seriously." More and more he didn't want Spider-Man on the battlefield. Such a young and escaped boy went to the battlefield. What would he do if he caused any loss? Inside the cab. The brothers' nerve docking was completed, and then they entered each other's brains and shared each other's memories at this moment. Yang also knew the existence of the website and knew that he would die in this battle. He was stunned, and it took him a while to digest the news. And then he said to Raleigh, "Come on, don't worry, this time I won't die." The gates opened, and the dangerous nomad stepped into the stormy Pacific Ocean. There are violent storms and huge waves, but it moves forward step by step and never stops. The two brothers were ordered to protect the city. Originally it was Raleigh who fought ahead to save the fishing boat, but this time they decided not to make that mistake again. In fact, the monster had no interest at all in the little fishing boat, and it swam straight toward the city. Its purpose is to eliminate humans, so the people selected are the most populous cities. Afterwards, the iron cannons in both hands of the dangerous wanderer turned on and attacked the monster directly, causing the camera head to scream. This move caused the command to be furious. General Panks got cursed. "What the hell are you doing? Are you crazy?" The poisonous blood of monsters enters the ocean, the sky, and the earth, which will cause very serious pollution and destroy the environment for human survival. Therefore, the strategy of the monster hunter is usually to fight with melee as much as possible first, and then use energy weapons. If the melee cannot be killed, even humans have weapons. Iron cannons can be installed on mechas, and naturally they can also be installed on coastal defense systems, but they are only used when they have to be used. Therefore, it will be easier for monster hunters to defend the city. They have support. Rowley said, "General, we know very well what we are doing. Believe me, we can't beat this guy just by hand-to-hand combat." At this time, the monster disappeared. It took 2 shots and dived directly into the seabed. The abdomen is the weak underbelly of the monster, and it will not die if you take a few shots on it. The two brothers' roads were waiting when Mr. Teng from the intelligence room said, "The monster index has been detected, and the energy index has skyrocketed. Be careful." Morgana mentioned before that these monsters may evolve organs that emit energy waves, but in fact it is true. Some monsters really do. The cutter that invaded the earth for the 4th time can spray energy light waves. Leatherback turtles that invade the port can also emit electromagnetic pulses that directly paralyze human mechas in the battle in the Raiders. The fact that the lens head does not exhale energy does not mean that it does not point, because the exhalation energy also needs a lot of consumption for the monsters, and it is not necessary to use it. The next moment, a clear light emerged from the sea and hit the arm of the dangerous wanderer. The arm of the mecha broke and melted, and Raleigh roared. While wrapping his arm. He was extremely unwilling in his heart. He had already worked so hard, he knew that this would happen. He had already chosen the most prudent strategy. Why would he still do this? The waves rolled, and the sicklehead jumped out of the water at this opportunity, hitting the dangerous wanderer with its head like a sharp knife, directly slicing the mecha's mouth to pieces. It's over. The pain made Yang almost lose consciousness. The audience was shocked raw. Just one more claw on the scythe head and the dangerous vagabond will die. At this time, the monster unexpectedly gave up the attack. It turned left and right in the sea, swayed east and west, and even played in the sea like a fish, as if it didn't know what to do. Even more bizarre, the dangerous wanderer, which has lost control, raised its right arm, and the iron cannon was full power output. Directly hit the abdomen of the sicklehead. The scythe let out a scream and fell into the sea. Both Raleigh and Yang gave birth to a very frightening feeling. Obviously we no longer have the ability to control the dangerous wanderer. Why is it still like this? It seems that the dangerous wanderers have their own consciousness and take the initiative to attack. And the monster seems to have slowed down directly. What happened? The two were completely incomprehensible. The unknown is the greatest fear. The audience also couldn't understand From their perspective, they have seen how seriously the dangerous homeless were injured, saw the two brothers of Raleigh lose their ability to fight, and saw the strange performance of the sickle head point at that moment. It was insane, completely incomprehensible. Keisha's face was extremely ugly. She let out a long breath, looked up to the sky and said, "Are you looking at us?" She remembered the short time when she and Hexy were in chaos in the City of Angels. Now she can be sure that what was done to them at that time was the mysterious black hand behind the website. All the viewers were immediately horrified. Ancient One said in a trembling voice, "Queen Keisha, you mean the people who make the website and the guide are watching us?" A self-deprecating smile appeared on Keisha's face. "That's for sure. Otherwise why would he make a strategy for us to see? We seem like the pets in his eyes, or the ants give us strategies, or just want to see our better performances for him." Morgana shouted unacceptably, "Keisha, are you crazy? Isn't this more terrifying than the ultimate fear?" Keisha shook her head and said, "Last time I heard his voice, or should I say, all I heard was a very chaotic, wicked rant, and then I fell into chaos. I forgot everything, and I couldn't understand what was being said." Just based on Keisha's description, a picture appeared in the audience's mind. A powerful being that lives in endless time and space, or is a god, or a demon, or doesn't know anything. I was bored watching what happened in various parallel universes. Then one day, suddenly, I cut the past and future of some people in these worlds into a video to give you a guide. No one knows why. Maybe just to pass the boring time. He is so terrifying that even just hearing a voice can drive a king of angels like Keisha into madness or confusion. You can even easily control everything in our world. The sound is so terrifying. What would happen if his real body came to this world? Will our universe be destroyed by this? The more everyone thought about it, the more terrified they became. As if someone had pried open their heavenly cover and poured a bucket of ice water directly into it. There is a mastermind behind the website. Everyone knows, in the past, the audience had been avoiding this question. After all, the behind the scenes mastermind did not appear and did not interfere with them. Now it cannot be avoided. Thank you for reading this story at mutlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 180. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not an evil god. After a dead silence, Optimus Prime said in a trembling voice, "Last time I was fighting Megatron." Megatron suddenly retreated with all the people, and there is no information so far. I couldn't understand it at the time, and now it seems either everyone immediately understood what he meant, or the man behind the website helped him drive away the Decepticons. You can even easily control the Decepticons through endless parallel universes. Harley Quinn's forehead also broke out in cold sweat. She said cautiously, "Last time, a book appeared in my house for no reason. It was the book that the raiders asked me to find, but at that time I had finished finding it in our world, and there was no such book at all. Did the mastermind behind the scenes send you books? What's this? Are you good at being a teacher?" Ancient One was shocked. "The book, is it an evil magic book similar to the Dark God book? This unknown existence is terrible. Don't arbitrarily borrow their power." Harley said, "It's a book of truth, which records the truth of the world, not an evil magic book." Ancient One's heart froze. "It's over. This is a manifestation of being controlled by evil forces." Iron Man couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva and said, "Well, from the current situation, even if he starts to interfere in our world, although we don't know his intentions, at least there is no malice towards us." Batman said flatly, "Who knows? He has been investigating everything behind this website, but he has not gained anything at all. And now the mastermind behind the website finally can't help but appear for him." It felt like a boot fell to the ground. This behind the scenes existence, whether there is malice or not, is not important. What is important is that just by his own voice, the king of angels like Keisha can be thrown into chaos. Its existence is a threat to the world. But Batman did not despair. As Keisha said, as long as he has been here, he has left his own traces. After the behind the scenes mastermind left traces of his existence, he was no longer an incomprehensible untouchable existence. Or, there is a possibility of being defeated or killed. At this time, Raleigh was finally talking to the audience. "The battle was too fierce, and I didn't have the energy to watch the video." "What? exactly did he give us? No matter what the purpose of the mastermind was, at least he saved himself and his brother this time, so his strategy can naturally be seen. He said the purpose of the monsters was to remove humans and transform the world so that their masters could come and colonize. Superman said, "You will blow up this space channel and even your generals will die because of it." But it doesn't make much sense. It's just blowing up the passage. They can open the second time if they can open it the first time, and if your people are connected to the monster's brain, the monsters may erode the connected person, so you need to take precautions. The first strategy is to make you fully prepared. Actively prepare for war. Actively develop science and technology, and prepare for a long-term war of resistance. Point in the face of monsters. Only when you see the truth under your hands and completely defeat the person who created the monsters, can you gain real peace. Monsters are only their weapons, and killing more monsters is just consuming some of the creator's ammo. So, the second strategy is to go to the world where the monster is, and the passage must be two-way. Monsters are powerful, but the person who created them is not necessarily. Just like humans, the weapons created by humans must be many times stronger than those originally created by humans. If you can do your best to break into the space channel, you can really cause a little casualty to the creator behind the monster, or they should consider that attacking this world is not cost effective. After all, they can open a space channel to enter another world, and the Earth must not be the only choice. This strategy is much more dangerous than the previous one, but it can also be more effective. Another guide this raiders Superman hardly wants to say point and Batman helped him say it. The people who command the monsters come to Earth to colonize because the Earth is barely able to adapt to their existence. So when it's time to do things, you think about circumstances that can change the world. Let the world be neither for you nor for them. It's a lose-lose deterrent. These words made the two brothers Rowley stunned for a while. Point the two of them are just the main soldiers on the battlefield. How to do this, whether it's an upper level strategy or a complete destruction of the Earth's ecological environment, they can't do it, or the only thing that can be done is to enter the tunnel point. But at this stage, with human combat power, this is no different from dying point at this time. The problem of the website popped up. All monsters have the same genes. They were cloned. So where did their original genes come from? 1. They were originally created by 2. Created by the creator himself. 3. The genes of alien life. Point there are only 3 answers to this multiple choice question. Point however, this question directly asked the two big-headed soldiers, who are not very good at answering this kind of question. Point Morgana's eyes lit up and said, "It's their creator. If I guess, it is difficult to create a biological gene from scratch." As a gene leader, Morgana knows this. If the genes of alien life are used, why are all the monsters' genes the same? The genes of alien life should also be diverse. So Morgana believes that the genes that create these monsters come from their creators. Raleigh listened and said directly, "I choose 1 point. Website 2. Correct answer. Reward Raleigh. Harold's genetic map." Note, Harold is the creator of the monster. This thing is too important to the Pacific Rim world. Point no one knows exactly what the pioneers used to control these monsters, but if the genes of these pioneers can be deciphered, maybe a way to control the monsters can be found. Point at least it's easier to destroy them. The website, as always, has great rewards, giving what the parties need most. Point and Morgana said angrily, "It was clearly the question I answered first. Why was the reward given to him?" Loki was calm. He was used to this scene. He said, "Because you didn't answer. You didn't have a choice, idiot." He has discovered that this website is not only malicious to himself, but seems to be malicious to everyone, and likes to play with them. Point he was angry, but he couldn't help it, which made him even more angry. Point think about it every now and then. Then, an evil god and a demon queen came to an online confrontation. The others ignored them. Well, they were. Dark Phoenix's Advance on Demand was unwilling to watch. So this video viewing is here. Point everyone began to discuss the existence of the Black Hand behind the scenes. After the exchange, the website finally disappeared. Point Sube also retracted his gaze. Point it was true that he used the parallel universe teleportation device, to transmit his ability to that world. Point confused Sith head with chaos. Mind Point controlled the dangerous wanderer with the mechanical mind and killed the knife head. Point hearing Keisha's words, he realized that when his chaotic mind was acting on them, they would hear something similar to the evil god's speech. Point hearing their discussion later, Sube couldn't help but smile bitterly when he imagined himself as some evil big boss who descended on their world and would destroy their world. Point I just wanted to. I can't come to your world now. Point the parallel universe teleportation device can only transmit objects, not living things. Could it be that I'm teleporting a slice of myself? Then he turned his attention to his own harvest. Chapter 181. I seem to be the boss behind the scenes. Now Sube can only get 3 rewards, no matter how many videos he uploads. This time both of his rewards are 1000 years of lifespan, which adds 4500 years to his lifespan, which is what many people dream of, but for Sube now, that's it. Another reward is quite powerful, Great Prophecy. It is the kind that often appears in Western fantasy novels. That is, the kind that God said, if I want light, there will be light. Point simply put, what you say is what you say. Modify the law of causality directly, but he doesn't have to sing a spell, and he doesn't have to borrow from anyone. Point such an awesome ability is definitely not without limits. The more the event that changes the reality, the greater the consumption will be. Point for example, he was hungry today and had no money on his body. He said I want money, and then the money came, and the consumption was very small. Point when he saw someone died, he didn't want someone to die. He said, I want you to come back to life. If that person is alive, the consumption will be relatively large. Point and the big prophecy will consume the lifespan. Point this allows him to now add 4500 years of lifespan, which is useful. Point no. 113. There is no use for it in this world. He is invincible, and if he wants money, he has countless money. Point he is not short of anything, and the Great Prophecy is not very useful. Point he has tried to use the Great Prophecy to travel directly to the parallel universe, but this actually consumes nearly 1000 years of his lifespan. Point so Sube decided not to go for the time being. Point the life expectancy is nearly 2000 years after going back and forth. If you encounter a vicious madman and fight again, maybe the lifespan of the rest of the city will not be enough to go home. Point anyway, in those parallel universes, he has no reason to go now. You can take it slow. Point maybe the next reward you get will be free to travel through parallel universes. In his own world, he is doing 2 things. One is designing a simplified version of the Matrix, and now it will take a lot of time for the framework to be successfully built. Point another thing is about spaceships. Previously, he was afraid of being exposed, so he didn't split it up and hand it over to those research institutes, preparing to practice one by himself using alchemy. Point his idea was quite good, but after doing some calculations, the materials needed for this thing were incredible. Point just the steel required, the metal is about dozens of times that of an aircraft carrier. A lot of rare metals are also needed. Point with such a large amount, it is impossible not to be noticeable. Point and holding a spaceship by himself seems useless. He can now travel in the universe physically, so after thinking about it, he still thought, why don't he give it away? Point just send it to the National Academy of Sciences. As for the Matrix, he really didn't want to wait any longer, and he directly used the big prophecy. I said, the framework of the simplified version of the Matrix will be built tomorrow. Before performing the spell, he felt that to complete this prophecy, it would take 2 years of his lifespan. Point Sube now holds an increased lifespan of 4500 years, and a 2-year lifespan is not worth mentioning at all. Point done. A software company. Point programmer Zhang Hua is working overtime, and the company received a large order a few days ago. Point Party A asked them to design a strange program that he felt a bit like some kind of interactive program. Point he didn't understand very well, but Party A actually gave a sample. Point at the time, I thought it was very strange. Why do we even have such a thing? But Party A is God. Point with his own team, he worked day and night for nearly half a month, and the whole person was almost on the verge of successfully cultivating immortals, and went straight to the immortal world. Point but it wasn't finished, and there were still a few problems that stuck him. Point in order to catch up with the progress, he drank 2 more bottles of Red Bull, smoked a cigarette, began to continue. At this moment, He seemed to be suddenly in a very miraculous state. It's better to be enlightened by what the Buddhists say. Uncontrollably typing out lines of code with both hands, it was only after dawn that he realized that he had actually completed it. He looked at his masterpiece with huge dark circles under his eyes and scratched the top of his already slightly showy head. Is it possible that I'm a genius among geniuses? And this scene played out in every outsourcing company that Subei found. However, the framework of the simple matrix was completely designed in one night. And soon Subei built a very large server library, and the parent body went online directly. The current matrix is just a frame with nothing in it. However, it can be built by some game manufacturers or players themselves. They can make the world the way they want. On the same morning, the helmet designed by Subei was also built. Bay registered a company and found several professional managers to help him promote the event. Note: the author does not know programming and the writing is full of mistakes. Please don't laugh. I have written as concisely as possible. The same night, Subei used the ability of teleportation to go to the Academy of Sciences and found the Dean of the Academy of Sciences give him the blueprint of the spaceship. The next morning, when the Dean of the Academy of Sciences woke up in a daze, he suddenly found the blueprints on the head of his bed. After a few glances, his complexion suddenly changed. Immediately reported to the superior. After completing all this, Subei stretched and smiled. The virtual world. I'll give it to you. I gave it to you as well. Speaking of which, I also gave positive feedback to the world. I really am a good person. Subei does this without seeking fame or profit because he really doesn't need it. Money or something. He really doesn't need it. What is the money used for? To buy something. With his current ability, if he really wants something, what can't he get in this world? As for being famous or someone who likes to live in the spotlight and watch every move. But Subei doesn't like it. That power. This kind of thing. He hates it even more. He prefers this kind of feeling of hiding behind, watching where the world will go under his influence. A subtle feeling welled up in Subei's heart. I seem to be the real boss behind the scenes. Then Subei turned his attention to parallel universes. The real world has begun to change under his influence, and he is now looking forward to changes in the parallel universe. Chapter 182, Slag Constantine. The first thing Subei saw was the DC universe. Since Mammon will come in 3 days over there, he wants to know how things will develop. And he just happened to catch up. Superman. Wonder Woman is fighting Bailey. A loud bang. Superman was smashed into a mountain, shattering the entire mountain. Then Wonder Woman also fell to the ground like a meteor, smashing a meteorite-like crater on the ground. Aquaman Cyborg was already lying on the ground early. The Flash dodged a lot of attacks with its own speed. Yes, even Luthor took part in this battle wearing his battlesuit, but his battlesuit had been completely destroyed and rendered incapable of combat. The same goes for Batman. Can't beat it. There are so many of them that they can't even beat Bayligia. Can you imagine how strong is Satan, who destroyed Gabriel in one breath? Gabriel fluttered his wings and slowly fell from the sky. Looking at the people who fell to the ground, he said, "Poor child, who gave you the courage to throw a fist at Angel? The only person who spit on Xiangshan will be himself, and only himself will be injured by throwing a fist at Xiangshan." Superman got up from the ground unscathed. He said, "Angel, are you an angel?" "I don't agree." Wonder Woman also got up and smashed her bracelet hard. In the strange vibration, an energy wave rushed towards Bayligia. But Baylika has disappeared as fast as if it were going to be a speed force. She put one hand on Wonder Woman's shoulder and said, "Amazon's little princess, how ignorant you are." There was another thunderous noise, and Wonder Woman was directly pressed to the ground by her. It's like being planted in the ground. A burst of despair surged in Wonder Woman's heart. Too strong. Who can imagine that Gabriel is so powerful? Isn't it just duplication? Why is she so powerful? Superman flew again and punched Gabriel. There was a tsunami-like roar in the air. Gabriel raised his hand and grabbed Superman's fist. This time with a little difficulty. Gabriel is very surprised. She has never seen the star. Why does this seem so different? The stronger the fight, the stronger the fight. Gabriel said with a sympathetic expression, "My child, why are you so angry?" Superman roared angrily. You and Mammon conspired to open the gates of hell, let Mammon appear in this world, and turn the world into purgatory. You still ask me why I'm angry? Gabriel shook his head and said, it's not my intention to turn the world into purgatory. My intention is to let human beings pass the test, obtain it to prove that they can obtain the favor of their father, to prove that they have this qualification. Superman broke free from her hand and punched him again. The air roared again, as if setting off a level 10 typhoon. The power of this punch seemed to shatter even the space. Gabriel took the punch again. But this time, she felt an unimaginable force coming, which actually knocked her flying. She was horrified to find that her power was actually fading. These mortals actually have a way to weaken their own strength. How is this possible? She thought about it, and only thought that a person might have such power. She looked up to the sky. Father, why would my father deprive him of his power? At this point Batman also stood up and said, we don't have to explain to you. It turned out that Batman had broadcast the battle to the whole world before. Seeing Angel come. Seeing Angel himself admit that he wants to destroy the world and turn the world into purgatory. Countless people's beliefs collapsed. Although in their teaching it is normal for God to test the world. But Angel doesn't have this qualification. Moreover, doctrine is one thing, and when faced with this kind of thing, there will still be countless people whose beliefs will collapse. After all, there are always a minority of people with unwavering faith. As a result of the collapse of faith, many dying people will go to hell. If this continues, God will lose the bet between God and Satan. Batman has seen this clearly. Humans are not important to God and Satan, but their covenant is important. And God, of course, does not want to see such a situation. Therefore, God withdrew Gabriel's power, just as God withdrew Gabriel's power when facing Satan for flowers. So the Justice League won this time. And the other side. Mammon, who was just about to emerge from the belly of the Psychic, was driven back to hell by the Psychic and Constantine. Gabriel was defeated, and without the support of Angel, Mammon could not break through the barrier of hell. And more importantly, the medium chosen by Mammon has changed from Angela to magician Zatanna. Seeing that Mammon was back in hell, Zatanna punched Constantine in the face. Constantine, you be ****D. How could I believe you? You actually used me as a vessel for demons. Constantine smiled embarrassingly. He already knew that he had to stand at attention at such a time. He said, because only you, the great magician, can be a psychic medium, we will have the opportunity to completely seal the gate of hell and drive Mammon back. We saved the world, and no one died. Another punch hit Constance in the face. Zatanna turned and walked away. I never want to see you again in my life. This scene made Sube laugh. It seems that they solved the problem easily this time. And Constantine certainly has a lot of backhands. That a useless Batman is also powerful. He can still find a way to win against the mysterious side. On the other hand, Belagear is really strong enough. Together, the Justice League couldn't beat her, which was beyond Sube's expectations. Sube has no Marvel familiarity with the DC universe. After all, there are more movies from Marvel and less movies from DC. He doesn't know the DC universe. God, that's really strong. He is like the OAA in the Marvel universe, the most powerful ultimate existence in the DC universe. Even his roar can destroy an unknown number of multi-universes. Angels who can serve him are naturally strong. So don't look at Belagear as a duplication. It's really not that difficult to fight the Justice League. Definitely. This is also Superman, the Flash, Batman, and these guys haven't had time to hang up. If they hang up, they can really do anything. And then Sube's eyes turned to other worlds. 7. Chapter 183. Ant-Man joins Winter Soldier amnesty. In the Super God universe, Keisha has understood the ultimate meaning of the void and is desperately deducing to convert the theory into real strength. It won't take long, and it may be able to drain the energy of dozens of fixed stars, and it will take 1.5 years to get it done. For her, this time is simply negligible. So the whole Super God universe unexpectedly seems very quiet. In the Marvel universe. Dr. Pym looked at the Iron Man who came to the door again and said, you don't have to waste your time. I don't want to see the Stark family again. Iron Man said, Doctor, I have come to see you with all my heart. The world is in danger, and we need your strength, drive. Pym closed the door without a word. But then Scott said, "Doctor, you might as well listen to what he has to say." Scott has now become a disciple of Dr. Pym and is receiving his training point. Hearing this 1-3, Dr. Pym said angrily, "What do you know? The Stark family are not good people." Iron Man said, "I just bought a large stake in Pym Technologies, and from now on I'm the chairman of Pym. Klaus, I have been fired by me, so from now on, you don't have to worry about the yellow shirt battlesuit anymore." Drive. Pym's eyes widened. "How is that possible? You must know that the company created by Dr. Pym is not a second-rate role, and its strength is extremely strong, and it is definitely not acquired by the Stark family. How can he do it? More importantly, how did he know about the yellow shirt battlesuit?" Iron Man said, "I'm very sincere. Doctor, can we talk now?" The sincerity of the Stark family, my god, it's the first time I've heard of such a thing. Despite that, Dr. Pym kept Iron Man in the house. In acquiring the stake in Pym's, Iron Man used a little bit of business tricks it's not worth mentioning. But after hearing everything about Thanos, Dr. Pym's face finally changed. He didn't think Iron Man was fooling himself. There was no need for it. And Iron Man took out the evidence, that is, the data about Thanos copied from the Chitauri starship. More importantly, Iron Man told him that his wife was still alive in the quantum realm. If they could cooperate, he was willing to help Dr. Pym get his wife back. This was an offer that Dr. Pym could not refuse. Finally he agreed to Iron Man's request and joined the Avengers to provide technical support for the Avengers. It's just that he wore the Ant-Man battlesuit too many times in the early years. The reason why the Ant-Man battlesuit was not perfect at that time was that he was too irradiated by him and he could no longer play as Ant-Man. However, Scott joined the Avengers as the second generation Ant-Man. Avengers added another little general. It was Iron Man who sent Wakanda to inquire about the news, but did not inquire about any news originally. He decided to go there in person in the name of investment. It's a pity that he was rejected by Black Panther. Wakanda is really not short of money. This makes Iron Man very sorry. On the other side, Captain the United States is visiting Winter Soldier, who is serving time in prison. The two chatted happily. Finally, the national captain said, "Bucky, don't you want to come out?" Facing the concern of a captain, Winter Soldier said, "Steve, I killed a lot of people, although I didn't have my own consciousness at that time, but I have memories of that time. Every moment I live in pain. Staying in jail might make my life a little easier. It would be even better if you came to see me more often. You don't need to jailbreak, Captain." The United States said, "It wasn't a jailbreak. We got a presidential pardon, and this time it's what Stark meant." Winter Soldier's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't imagine Iron Man being so generous. The captain of the United States said, "You saw that website last time, but you probably didn't see it clearly. We, and the Earth, and even the entire universe, will face a major crisis. Any combat power is important at this time." Winter Soldier still shook his head. "We have so many troops," the United States captain said. "Trust me, Bucky, they're useless in front of Thanos. We need your strength." Winter Soldier finally agreed. However, although he is out of prison, he cannot go to Avengers headquarters. Iron Man, no matter how generous, didn't want to see him. And he didn't want to see Tony Stark either. He and Howard Stark are old comrades in arms, killed his old comrades, and he doesn't know how to deal with his son. Overall, the Marvel Universe has not had too many twists and turns for the time being. So Sube turned his attention to the world of the Spirit Cage. Cage world. Old world. Above the laboratory. Bayuki looked at the battle below, frowned and said, "That girl has mastered the cultivation method of the essence of life." Did the lighthouse master this? Impossible. Not that humans on the ground are going to have a technological monopoly on everything about this. It was the stubborn Morgan City Lord who didn't believe this in the early years. Bayuki once saved Charles' life and went to the lighthouse. But Charles didn't believe it was her at all. Thought it was heresy. Thought they weren't human anymore. Because only the Polar Eater can absorb the life essence. They cultivate the life essence and they are already the same thing as the extreme eater. But the girl below really mastered the practice of the principles of life point and strong and comprehensive point in her team. If she doesn't make a move, she needs the relics to mark the aura of the Polar Eater. But this girl doesn't have to. She seems to be able to see the spiritual seed of the Polar Eater directly point, even more exaggerated. She can attach her own life essence to the bullet point. This is simply impossible. Point. Why does Broken Star use bows and arrows instead of guns? Isn't it because the life essence can't be attached to the bullet? How did she do it? Could it be that Master Leigh's prophecy is wrong? It is not Mark who can save the whole world, but this girl? 0.7 and the hunter team below has issued a burst of joy. 3 more ice shots killed the Calyx beast, and the Calyx beast's flesh and blood melted and turned into a pile of skeletons. They really killed the Polar Eater, and for the first time they found a way to really kill the Polar Eater. They were full of confidence that mankind was saved. Zabing said to the dumbfounded Mark, "I said it, right? Take the City Lord's medicine back, and you will be the new City Lord from now on, Charles. Can't compare." The people at the lighthouse are not fools. You said that the illusory master of light and shadow and the real hunter who can kill the extreme beast, who can bring them more confidence. At this time, Bayuki and his party jumped down from above the ruins. Bayuki heard Zabing's words. She knew how naive Zabing was, and she wanted to tell Zabing everything. That is, Lord Morgan can't believe her. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 184, The Ray of Light of the Doomsday World. The guns of the Wild Hunter squad have all been pointed at the Bayuki squad. 2 Frightening. The hunters haven't found a human being on the ground in 30 years, and this time they found a group of people, and they seem to be alive and well. How strange it is. She recognized Bayuki when she froze again. She saw Bayuki twice on the video. The first time Bayuki rescued Mark. The second time Bayuki beat Mark. Definitely, that was Mark in the state of the polar beast. So, even if I feel a little unhappy in my heart, I'm more grateful. And Mark also recognized Bayuki when he and Zabing were investigating the history of the lighthouse. He saw the photos of Bayuki. This man went to the lighthouse decades ago, and it hasn't changed at all. Mark only felt that the hairs all over his body stood on end, and he couldn't tell whether the person in front of him was a person or not. Take it easy. The next moment, Bayuki had appeared beside Mark's mecha. With a gentle swipe, he grabbed Mark's heavy chainsaw sword in his hand. How is this possible so fast? What kind of power is this capable of grabbing a knife from a gravitational body? Everyone was frightened by Bayu's performance. Bayu type has a wealth of survival experience in the Wasteland 13. She knows that when two groups of strangers who do not believe in each other meet, she must show enough strength to make them dispel their unwanted thoughts. Now she does. Even Mark, who was wearing gravity stamina, became her hostage. Bayuki said, "I have no ill will towards you." Mark raised his hand to stop other people's movements and said, "Who are you, Bay?" "You said lightly, humans just like you." Zufeng said angrily, "Don't joke. How can humans of such power let go of Mark?" Bayuki really let Mark go, and even returned the sword to Mark. "I said, I have no ill intentions. Mark, if you go back like this now, the results may be different from what you think." Mark was stunned. "Why?" Bayuki said, "Because in Morgan's view, those who master the cultivation of the essence of life are not human beings. He will definitely find a way to kill the girl next to you, to preserve the so-called genetic purity of humans." Everyone shook their heads. This was impossible. Bayuki continued, "When I went to the lighthouse decades ago, I came with good intentions, but Morgan let me down. More importantly, do you really want to go back to the lighthouse life? Abide by that ridiculous 3 laws. There are also many people among the hunters who are unhappy with the 3 laws, but some of them still say, although the 3 laws are cruel, they are the only way to maintain our survival in this world." Yui shook his head and said, "You are so naive. Yes, the Polar Eater will be attracted by the strong emotions of human beings, so the lighthouse forbids all the old-time relationships of human beings. But then you won't have family, love, and friendship born. There must be more, aren't they? After all, you are human. It is human nature." Everyone was surprised. It was so. Mark and his old comrades all thought of Mark's sister Han, who, the woman who died for love. Even remembered the declaration previously published in Mark Lighthouse, hope of reform, and they were all silent. Bayuki continued, "Or lose these things, humans are still human. As for the human dust into people, and called on the people really will be able to maintain genetic purity, so that genetic enhancement, ridiculous. It would only make humans more and more weak. Not to know that the gene is everything. Day after tomorrow effort is equally important, and doing so will only make gene cure and the evolution of the human genome from mutations from diversity. Lighthouse of the so-called best choice to lose the diversity as a long journey, so that the elderly to age when to travel. Why not Morgan? Plainly. All this, but Morgan is ruled out for their own tricks. Nothing. White Moon comfort than force high strength. She was super science PowerPoint before the world was destroyed by the disaster. She is a brain science expert, or even do brain transplants. Definitely, which caused bad consequences. She is also very smart and eloquent. To know that in the original history, she said, easily moving the heart. Besides in Mark, let him moral. Mark was silent for a long time before said, "So this is some things I really do not know. Thank you for telling me, but because of this, so I just want to go back more." Lighthouse need a change. The need for more people to know. White Moon finally say no more comfort. She saw a firm in Mark's eyes. She said, "That hope so. If by that time you really took control of the lighthouse, we can cooperate." The two sides parted company. When hunting with a shortage of those who bite very beast bones back, the whole lighthouse have been crazy. Because this is the first human to beast back, to bite very real bite animal carcasses. So the defense forces, the first defection. Even the shadow of the church many Christians agree Mark bite very beast's body than the main light. The more they believe in the power of Mark. Only high level lighting church still hardcore, because if 113 marks become Santo, they could lose everything. But these high level, in prepared and who are determined to hunt shortage of front, failed. Charles, who charge light, large dog Sullivan. These dead who are hunting shortages one, although a lot of these people also have a very strong strength. But after becoming a man lighting the church, they rarely under the ground. Few who like hunting shortage as at any time in the edge of life and death. Hunting shortage of those who really do not mercy, they beat it. Ability originally had all this repression. Morgan Santo, also in serious illness. Mark eventually succeed to power. He won the Charles, rescued Morgan Santo. And Bayuki said the same. When Morgan learned about the ice again after all, he was furious, but he eventually confessed. After all, he is not young, and young ideas also changed. If we really want to overcome extreme animal bite, or lighthouse really need to change. Most importantly, the use of force has been mastered in the hands of those who hunt shortage. Mark's prestige has reached the top. He temporarily unable to resist. Finally, Mark became Santo, announced the ground and human cooperation. The last days of the world has finally ushered in a ray of hope. I will not seek a reward, and gentlemen subscribe to readers, I will be satisfied. You can put some natural flowers, you every flower. Flutter Street gave confidence and hope. Chapter 185 Pangu World Stars and Sea. The development of the cage world makes Subei happy. Charles this fool was thrown into prison. Very happy. Mark didn't kill him, which made Subei a little disappointed. However, Mark's victory is actually reasonable, and Mark's prestige in the lighthouse is actually quite high. Especially after he launched the reform declaration in the lighthouse to reform the current lighthouse. He got the support of the lighthouse people. If it wasn't for the fact that Charles killed Mark with an inner ghost and turned him into a Polar Eater, Charles couldn't have won him. Now Zabing already knows that the Dust People 4068 will go against the water and assassinate Mark, and this kind of thing will naturally not happen. And no matter how powerful the ice is to kill the Calyx beast, the Dustman 4068 will not have this. Chance point mark is intact. The hunters can really kill the extreme beast. Even the city defense army supports Mark. The city owner takes a fancy to Mark, and Mark has defenses. Charles naturally has no chance, because the lighthouse's cloth system sees Mark as the hope of humanity. So, in the end, Morgan finally did not resist, and accepted the change of the lighthouse. If Mark can't win like this, he's a piece of shit. Subei's eyes were withdrawn from the world of the spiritual cage. He activated the ability of the high-dimensional observer again, and looked at the world of X-Men. Although mutants establishment was successful, it was still rejected and hostile. However, the power shown by mutant really shocked the human beings, and they would not fight back for a while. But if their counterattack really came, it would be as violent as thunder. Mutant is ready. Wolverine finally made a choice, and he found adamantium in Stryker. Finally, adamantium was injected into the wolf by Beast, and Wolverine with adamantium bones and claws was truly born. Then Subei looked at other worlds, mostly quiet. Nothing special happening. Only in the world of Star Trek. Kirk got everything that will happen in the future in advance, and it is easy to know what will happen, and then reverse it, and then look for clues from the cobweb horse trail. He was on the ship, and he found evidence to support his claim that Vulcan was a trap. Eventually succeeded in persuading Pike and the captains of several other battleships. Kirk rearranged his tactics, and they drilled the curvature flight from the back of Vulcan. The trap laid by the Romulans was empty. And Kirk also found the old Spock, and now Scott. Using the new phase transmission technology, the elite soldiers were dispatched to directly attack the Romulan mines. How could these miners be the opponents of elite soldiers in such close combat? This battle was fought beautifully. With such a great achievement, Kirk, who performed well, was quickly promoted to captain, becoming the fastest person in the entire Interstellar Federation to be promoted to captain. There was no difference for a while. After watching all this, Subei retracted his gaze. It seems everyone is doing well. Then Subei began to cut the video. This time he was going to play a little more tricks. He was going to cut that my 3-body problem into a guide. This was originally a Blockman animation, and it was done very well. Subei is very curious. After he cuts it, will it be automatically corrected to a real person, and will he be able to find the corresponding parallel universe? But when he cut the video, the whole world he was in was already boiling. The first is the Pangu company he registered, and the simplified version of the parent frame is called the Pangu world. Once it was exposed, it caused a sensation all over the world. At the press conference, the players who had tried it out all went crazy and praised them greatly, because this is the real sense. The world that you can enter with a helmet is more advanced than the #1 player. Humanity's dream metaverse has finally succeeded. Countless people flocked to it. Virtual helmets sold out as soon as they were sold. Countless people wearing helmets entered this empty world. They started to build the world, and they wanted to make the world what they wanted. And all kinds of capital of other game companies are already crazy. They are trying to find Pangu company, buy shares, acquire, invest, and think of ways to send money. Even off-board tricks are used. But to Subei it made no sense. The Pangu world has become a brand new world that truly belongs to human beings. A world that can be built by the player. Game companies can also use the framework of Pangu world to develop their own new games one by one. The games developed using the parent framework were quickly launched and started to be developed. Players are looking forward to it. However, at this time, many people of Inside came out to say this kind of virtual world is a curse rather than a blessing for human beings. If human beings indulge in this virtual world, it will cause the ultimate involution, and eventually it will become a world similar to the Matrix. Disdain for everything outside the virtual world. It definitely makes sense. But the Pangu company is completely controlled by Subei, so there is no such problem. And the worries of experts are destined to become a void. Because at this time, in the Academy of Sciences, there is a serious confidential meeting going on. The best experts in the entire country have signed non-disclosure agreements to participate. When they looked at the blueprints in their hands, they all went crazy. It's a curvature engine. How is that possible? I counted it 7 times. Theoretically there is no problem, but if we want to complete it, we need more than 1700 front-end technologies. Yes, that's great. However, I think this sublight speed engine is much easier. Only 132 front-end technologies are needed. 132 prerequisite technologies. Is that a lot? That is. Others have already pointed out the way. How much trouble can we get if we just follow along? I'm curious, where did this blueprint come from? Did we get help from aliens? I don't know this. We dare not say it, and we dare not ask. The most important thing in a spaceship is the engine point. If sublight engines can be made, they can travel in the solar system. Sube did not use alchemy to build the spaceship, but had to let humans develop the technology themselves. After all, technology is developing well in this world, and alchemy, don't think it's easy to learn. Others don't have a few decades, and the door, get Zao, can't touch it. But it's not as fast as developing technology. Anyway, whether alchemy or science, the essence is nothing but a tool to understand the world, use the world, and transform the world. At this time, human beings have already obtained the tickets to enter the interstellar civilization. Sube was very happy to see this, the sea of stars and the virtual world, walking onto legs without falling down. This is really good point, and if the Academy of Sciences can develop these 132 pre-technologies, each technology can not only be used in spaceships, but can also bring unprecedented development to the human world. In this rapid development, their own country will be a blow to the dust. And only one's own country can do it. If handed over to other countries, these will eventually become playthings of capital, which is what Sube does not want to see. 10 days pass quickly. Sube uploaded the video, and the audience was notified that they were in a quiet space and were all ready to watch the guide. Chapter 186, The World of the Wandering Earth and Three-Body Problem. Liu Qiang looked at the starlight outside the window and wondered, how long has it been here, drifting in the endless void? Although there are many colleagues, everyone is happy to get along, but there is always a lack of down-to-earth feeling. But soon after the service is over, he will be able to return to the ground to meet his son. Although the Earth is now wandering in the universe, although the Earth has become like that now, it is still down to Earth to return to the Earth. After all, the roots of human beings are still on the Earth. This was also one of the reasons why spaceships were unpopular when the Wandering Earth plan began. Suddenly he found a virtual projection screen in front of him. Liu Qiang couldn't help but be taken aback. My receiving system is not turned on. What is going on? Could it be that the people in the scientific research department have come up with something new? Just when he was puzzled, there were many projection screens around the virtual projection screen, and many people appeared. He couldn't help but worry in his heart. Is this Moss being invaded? If this thing suddenly appears, will it affect the space station? In other words, human beings have not completely abandoned the concept of spaceship faction. If it is really necessary, the space station can become a new ark for mankind at this time. Bringing the last ray of hope to humanity. 117. Don't miss out on this space station. He is ready to report immediately. Luog is smoking. As a university professor, his lifestyle is relatively chaotic. Even now he can't remember the name of the girl next to him who was once in his spring, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? And at this moment, a projection screen suddenly appeared in front of him. Luog was astonished. He immediately thought of Tomoko. Because now human beings have understood what a soften is. The sudden appearance of something in front of them is mostly the work of soften. The next moment, around the projection screen, many small projection screens appeared, and some people appeared. He immediately felt wrong. Are these people all members of Ito? I got pulled into Ito's group chat. Impossible. Even though I want to record drinking, picking up girls, smoking, and getting my hair hot, it's not a good thing, but I still don't do bolar asterisk. No matter what they say, after a while, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to call the police. In his own world, seeing Luog's appearance, Sube smiled. Really? Amazing. The square man has become like this. It seems that in the future, even the animation can be cut together. Although he has cut the spiritual cage in the super seminary, the 3D animation is similar to the real one. 3 body Problem is an animation, but the movie has not been released. Just a square person can do it, which means that other 2D animations can also be point the other side. Point Zatanna is driving with Superman. Point seeing Zatanna, Captain Kirk could not help whistling. He had felt that there were too few female compatriots in the audience of this website. Point now come a big beauty, really seductive. Point tights, high slits, black silk fishnets, and even a top hat. Point how does this dress look like a magician? Zatanna didn't have time to pay attention to Kirk and was shocked when she saw the website popping up in front of her. She said to Superman, "What is this? You made it up." She and Superman are together. Definitely not two people in love. Point it was Superman who was sincerely asking her about magic. Point it's a pity that Superman's magic ability seems to be really bad. Point however, Superman learns magic just to protect his relatives and friends, which is barely enough. Point as long as their protective magic can withstand such a blow, Superman can arrive in time. Point at this time, Zatanna saw Constantine on another screen and snorted coldly, "Constantine, you made this? What do you want to do?" Surprised, Superman said, "What the hell did he do? You hate him so much." Zatanna hummed. He persuaded Mammon before that a new container was found for him, hundreds of times better than the other one. It is me. Point this B asterisk 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 D actually used me as a vessel for demons to descend upon. Point Constantine took out a cigarette, put it in the box. After thinking about it, took out a piece of chewing gum and drank it. But it ended well, didn't it? We saved the world. Zatanna doesn't know what to say to such a shameless person. Point she really didn't understand why she was blind and fell in love with this scumbag in the first place. Point is it because he is handsome, sweet mouth? And then Batman said, "Ziona, long time no see, Bruce Wayne." Zatanna looked at Batman in shock. Point why is this rich second generation also here? The two can be regarded as childhood sweethearts, but they haven't seen each other for a long time. She is very surprised to see Batman here, and she is more and more curious about this thing. Batman couldn't help but smile bitterly. More and more people knew about his vest. Point but Ziona, why are you here? Zatanna's father was good friends with Batman's father. The two are childhood sweethearts. However, he only knew that it was a great magician then. Let me explain it to you, Batman said. Point parallel universe, editing the indescribable existence of the past and the future. Website guide, when these completely incompatible things are added together, Liu Qiang and Luog are completely stunned. Point suddenly, Luog didn't think that this was something the three-body man made. Point Trisolarans are not an imaginative race. Point is it true? So, that big robot, not CG, is a shaper-shifting robot named Optimus Prime. The world is so amazing, and Liu Qiang was equally shocked. Point in this kind of stuff. However, he believed it a little because there was no device in front of him to start, but the projection screen actually existed. Point even Moss didn't call the police. Apparently Moss wasn't aware of the thing. Point let's take a look then. Point everyone began to chat about their experiences during this period of time, and it seemed that everything was developing in a good place. Point this shows that the strategy is still useful. Point then everyone turned their attention to this strategy. Super Dimension Raiders, Dark Phoenix Super Dimension Raiders, Liu Qiang Super Dimension Raiders, Luog Super Dimension Raiders, Peter Parker Super Dimension Raiders. Diana Spider-Man was excited. "Brothers, my strategy. I finally have a strategy, brothers." Wonder Woman said speechlessly, "This doesn't seem to be anything to be happy about." Point if there is a strategy, there will be a crisis. Who will watch first? Everyone looked at the newcomer. They knew that the newcomer had always been a little unbelievable, so it would be better to give the newcomer the first opportunity to watch. Point Liu Qiang said, "Then look at me." Point from the start of the Wandering Earth project, it is destined to have endless crises. If this website is real and the guide is really useful and can solve the crisis, it is the person who saves the whole world. Point he did his part. Chapter 187 The will of mankind makes the gods tremble. Liu Qiang's business card popped up. Name: Liu Qiang. Introduction: Navigator Space Station Staff, Air Force Colonel on the screen. Liu Qiang has a smile on his face and is still holding his son Liu Qi. Then the screen began to switch rapidly. A mountain fire swept the entire mountain forest, turning the forest into coke. A drought dries up the land and leaves nothing to be harvested. Animals fell to the ground and died inexplicably. A city is rapidly decaying. As soon as this attack power came up, it was filled with a feeling of the withering of all things and the end of the world. Zabing couldn't help but sigh. Is this a world facing doomsday again? Human beings are really in trouble. Liu Qiang was stunned again. It seems that the disaster of the parallel universe is not small. This disaster is not just a problem of the end of mankind. The narration sounded. One day, disasters occur frequently on the Earth. Humans discovered that the sun began to rapidly age and expand for unknown reasons. In 100 years, the sun will engulf the Earth, and in 300 years, the sun will engulf the entire solar system. In order to deal with this crisis of extinction, this civilization whose aerospace technology cannot even reach sublight speed, and a civilization that cannot reach 100% light speed navigation, chose to push the Earth away from the entire solar system and go to fixed, which is the closest to the solar system point star, Proxima Centauri 4.2 light years away. Hearing this narration, everyone immediately felt a roar in their brains. It was as if someone had thrown hundreds of missiles into their minds, causing them to go numb. Shocking, indescribable shock, drive the entire Earth out of the solar system and fly to Proxima Centauri 4.2 light years away. What a brilliant plan this is. These 10 strokes exceeded the limit of the imagination of all the audience present. Even in the super God universe where Keisha is located, various civilizations have technologies far beyond this world, and they have never seen any race make such crazy actions. Even in a Star Trek universe like Captain Kirk's, human footprints have spread across the galaxy. Nor have they ever seen such an unimaginable feat. In order to find the source of fire, Optimus Prime, who is wandering around the universe, has never seen that race do such a crazy thing. But the one who reacted the most was Luog, who was swallowed by a puff of cigarette and began to cough violently. This is so ironic. The Trisolaran Centauri, 4.2 light years away from our world, is thinking of madly invading the Earth, and even willing to spend hundreds of years for it. In another parallel universe, human beings actually drove away the entire Earth and left the solar system to fly towards the world where the Trisolarans are located. So ironic. If the two worlds merged into one. Fortunately, the three-body person came to the Earth in a hurry and found that the Earth was gone and moved to your house. How would the three-body person feel? Will it explode on the spot? It's ironic just thinking about it. Didn't Liu Qiang and the people in this world discover the three-body problem? Don't go there and find that there is a purgatory of 3 suns. At that time, I'm afraid that everyone will be desperate enough to commit suicide. Everyone saw Luog's unusual reaction, but they didn't ask any more questions. They just thought that this newcomer had little knowledge. Not to mention the newcomers. It is them. And the one who is not shocked. Keisha was shocked and said, I have never seen a civilization with such a strong will to survive. A civilization that can't even reach sublight speed cosmic flight can actually execute such a grand plan. I admire your will. She is like that, and so is everyone else. Because no one among them has ever thought that when the Earth is facing a crisis, someone can think of such a shocking plan. Still, Iron Man couldn't help but say, if that's the case, then why don't you build a super large starfleet? Wouldn't it be better to just emigrate with the fleet? Everyone nodded. Because no matter what they think, they feel that the implementation of this not so developed civilization is too exaggerated to implement such a plan. Liu Qiang said, when the disaster just happened, the spaceship faction and the Earth faction were arguing about it, but in the end the coalition government decided to choose the Earth faction. The first reason is that where we are going, we don't find a planet suitable for us to live in. The second reason is that, even if we can build large spaceships, we have a limited time of 100 years. We can only take a very small number of people. Third, the ecosystem on the spacecraft is too small and fragile. If the ecosystem collapses easily, all human beings will perish. All the superheroes shook their heads, not that they were wrong, but incomprehensible, unbelievable. 4 flowers. The first and third reasons will not be discussed. Because according to their understanding, if it really reaches such an irreversible point, shouldn't they build a spaceship and leave with a few people? This is how their myths tell the story. When the flood came, an ark was built, and a few people left, and the civilization was restarted. They have no such idea. Keisha praised, that's why you implemented this plan, which was so difficult for you, so that more people could survive. Very good. Your civilization has its own justice. Justice? Liu Yang murmured. He still remembers the death of those humans who could not evacuate to the dungeon because of that tsunami that occurred, because the earth stopped rotating. At that time, he had hesitation in his heart. Is this approach correct? Now, the king of angels from a parallel universe, the king of the gods, says they are righteous. This made him a little moved for no reason. The narration continued. The entire Wandering Earth project is divided into 5 stages. In the first stage, human beings will do everything they can to build 10,000 planet engines and 10,000 underground cities to protect the survival of human beings. In the second stage, the planet's steering engine on the equator will be turned on one after another to stop the rotation of the Earth. The Earth stopped, causing a tsunami that swept the world, and the global population dropped by nearly half. In the third stage, the Sun-Earth will use the gravitational force of the Sun and Jupiter, and use the gravitational slingshot to make a final acceleration sprint, and leave the entire solar system. In the fourth stage, after the Earth leaves the solar system, the planet engine is turned on at full power, and it takes 500 years to accelerate to 5,000ths of the speed of light, and glide for 1,300 years, then reverse the direction of the engine, and decelerate for another 700 years. In the fifth stage, the Earth arrives at its new home, and the new one is the fixed star system, becoming a new planet of the target fixed star system. Silence. Deathly silence. A normal life, but a race of 70 or 80 years old is actually going to carry out a grand plan that will take nearly 3,000 years. What a boldness this is, what a will this is. The will to survive when human beings face an existential crisis shocked everyone. Even the gods shuddered. There is something to delay today. It's even later in the afternoon. Sorry. 7. Chapter 188. The survival of civilization is the top priority. On the screen, the Earth is quietly suspended in the cosmic starry sky. Then on the backside of the Earth without light, countless blue fireworks visible to the naked eye actually lit up. Then someone said in Russian, "Goodbye, solar system." Then someone said in English, "Goodbye, solar system." Then all the languages of human beings sounded in turn, "Goodbye, solar system." In addition to the previous shock, an indescribable emotion flooded everyone's heart. This civilization finally left the sun that raised them and went to a strange home. This kind of sadness and remorse, no matter what the culture is, everyone can feel it. This universe is really cruel, Keisha said to Hexy and the others on the side. Can you imagine it? A race with an average lifespan of several decades planned a plan that would take about 3,000 years to complete. Hexy nodded. 7 said, "The human beings in this world are really great. I can't express my current mood. There are many civilizations under the angel civilization that surpass the civilization of Liu Yang's world. But absolutely no civilization has the courage to do such an impressive feat. Such a civilization would actually be stuck by the superluminal speed navigation technology. It can only be said that sometimes the development of science and technology is unreasonable. Just like the angel civilization, it does not understand the spirit, body and soul. But magician, even a magician weaker than Constantine, can easily destroy creatures such as ghosts. In the world of Star Trek, technology is developed enough, but their individual combat power is really indescribable. Civilization sometimes has such unreasonable shortcomings. The narrator continued, in this long journey, mankind will encounter countless unimaginable crises, and the first crisis is when they are going to use Jupiter's gravity as a slingshot To accelerate the Earth point screen switching point, a young girl and a teenager are locked up in a prison point. Then an elderly man was also locked in point. The old man shook his body. While listening to the song point, the young man said dissatisfiedly, "Stop shaking, old man." The old man got angry and threw the bag in his hand at the young man. "Old thing, it's not because of you. I can be here, running away from home. How old are you? Are you running away from home? Liu." Yang directly saw the corners of his mouth twitching point. "Isn't this Liu Qi, Duodo and his father-in-law Han Ziyang? What did Liu Qi do to get locked up? Although it is a period of rebellion, this is too much point." The three quarreled. Duodo burst into tears, and Liu Qi angrily slammed into the wall point. The wall then cracked point. Liu Yang opened his mouth. "How could this kid Liu Qi have such power?" Magneto said excitedly. "This unimaginable power. Did he awakening become a mutant? Will he use his power to save the world?" Batman is also confused point in the eyes of his top martial arts master. "This punch is weak and powerless and should not have such power." Then the cracks and spider webs in the wall generally spread upward and the whole world began to shake violently point. The audience immediately understood and said in shock, "There is an earthquake point screen switching point in the underground city. People are playing Mahjong point." Suddenly the mountain shook. The earth cracked, the city collapsed, and countless ruins fell point. For a time I do not know how many people lost their lives. The screen switches again point. Han Ziyang and his party finally escaped from prison and came to the ground point. Then the audience did not see the situation now. Earth point Arctic unimaginable. Do not wear protective clothing. Simply cannot survive on the outside point because they see a person a chance to wear protective clothing. He was frozen into the ice. Children kneeling on the ground point. The whole earth is vast, covered with thick ice. Everything is frozen. It is difficult to imagine the desolation. Then again, the screen switches give to the planet engine. Several exude soaring beam of planet engine stalled. No. 7 engine stops running. No. 3 engine has stopped. Go back to chief engineer. Engineering picture of people have been going crazy point. The screen switches again point. He came to the pilot station point. A voice sounded, enhanced by the gravitational influence of Jupiter. The planet thrust half total loss of power steering. Earth to be 4 minutes 37 hours after 3012 seconds. Hit Jupiter. Picture Earth through a bend. Toward Jupiter fly. The audience at all anxious. Iron Man for Liu Yang said, "This should not since you want to use Jupiter's gravity to degravitational slingshot. Cannot be such a big miscalculation." Loki here and smile and said, "Indeed it is." And even said, "Before the sun rapidly grow old, will expand to the entire solar system in 100 years. It is actually very reasonable way. Will there be any manipulation in the dark behind all this?" Batman shook his head. "If there is anything behind, so that means there is earth shattering. To destroy the human race, need not have sophisticated means, so they should be the emergence of what errors it, or what Jupiter appeared unimaginable change, after such a big project for them in this world." Tamian Jiang point. Liu Yang not say to the world, where they are forced, even occur in their own world. Batman also feel that the world cannot complete such a grand plan point. All spectators are beginning to quietly pray for wandering the earth point. Such a grand plan, a strong-willed so civilized, so it should not be destroyed point. And Liu Yang blankly watching it all, thinking about how to stop the own this let plan. Scientists re-evaluated once thing that you have to how to convince them. The website reported the matter, or feasible. The screen switches again point. Han Ziyang and his party fled on ice. Many cars were moving toward the direction of flying refuge point. In this time, they were a military car stopped point. Military vehicles on the opposite side down. Several soldiers said, "We were sent to Hangzhou number 1 machine. CN 171-11 rescue team, according to the law wandering the earth, your car and the car personnel were requisitioned 0.7. From now on, we will be on the planet engine saturation style rescue." The audience discussed again. Batman said, saturated like fire and rescue, as was originally just need a rescue team, and now the 2 teams directly sent 3 teams or even 10 teams, and 100 team to support. Is this mean so soon dispatched rescue teams so much This efficiency cannot imagine. Almost unimaginable. Their politicians have such mobility. Not from a Luther nodded. This time, even if some human waste is worth it. And what system are not taken into account in these politicians still carry so clear. Optimus Prime could not help but said, this time, the survival of civilization is the top priority. He thought of home, hope that the world will not step Cybertron's footsteps. Chapter 189 Saturation Rescue. Then the screen switches again. Hans Iron said, in order to save the carriage, their driver disconnected the front of the car from the carriage and fell into the crack of ice. Liu Qi said, what is so important, Han? Xiang said, it's filled with flint. Liu Qi said, flint. That is the starting device of the planet engine. The audience fell silent for a moment. They can already imagine how many of these vehicles are heading towards each of the stopped engines at this time. In this bad weather, how many people chose to sacrifice their lives to rescue. Even if these people have no super ability, no confrontation, or any evil villain, these people are heroes, unsung hero. Then the screen switches. Han Xiang and their vehicles entered a city completely frozen. Just seeing this frozen picture, everyone can think of the situation when the Earth's rotation stopped and the seawater poured back. Think of how much human beings in this world have sacrificed to survive. Immediately emotional, and at this time. Suddenly there was an earthquake and the whole car was trapped at 13. They made a difficult decision to move on with the flint, and even if they walked, they had to send the flint. But one team member died, and Han Xiang's oxygen cylinder burst. He took off his helmet and took a deep breath of the air of his hometown. Then the surface of his body began to frost, and he turned into a pile of ice cubes in front of the screen. Liu Qiang couldn't help covering his mouth. He really didn't expect his father-in-law to die like this. However, I still have a chance. I can stop them. I cannot let Liu Qi run away. No, what I want to prevent is the catastrophe caused by this proximity to Jupiter. I won't let this happen. Be sure to find the cause of the error. Then the screen cuts back to the space station. Liu Qiang in the picture has entered the dormant cabin. Moss, the artificial intelligence of the space station navigator, is reporting the ground lost to him, monitoring Jupiter to a gravitational surge, communications lost, the Earth's atmosphere is severely disturbed, the global disaster assessment loss is over, and the accompanying flight operation is terminated. Space station loaded with evacuation procedures. Liu Qiang was shocked. Evacuate. Moss, contact the coalition government for me. And Moss ignored him at all. In the evacuation phase, please go into hibernation immediately. It has injected dormant gas into Liu Qiang's dormant cabin. Liu Qiang was angry. Moss, you are defecting. He destroyed the dormant capsule and actually broke free from the dormant capsule. Moss said, illegal wake up warning. The dormant state is destroyed. Manual correction procedures are initiated according to emergency procedures, and all dormant personnel are being awakened. Another dormant colonel is awakened, and Moss asks him to deal with Liu Qiang. But Liu Qiang persuaded the colonel that they would go to the main control room to manually control the space station. Seeing this, Marinho his face a quizzical look. AI once again betrayed the human race. Loki. Tinker said, I previously said, and they are behind, and now you see it. Artificial intelligence defection. This time mistake. It's certainly caused by it intentionally miscalculated data. Let the Earth crashed into Jupiter. This time, no one refute Loki, only to hear his pride and rushing in there. Listen to these words of Iron Man is very guilty. Fortunately, this time did not allow any onlookers at the side to see it. Will not turn bad, right? Not only him, but also two other members of the Avengers. Nini worried. Only Scarlet Witch said, you do not have to worry about Nini. I read her heart. Her greatest wish is Tony does not limit her time online, so she can enjoy playing games on the network. La. Everyone is forced to hear a look ignorant. Iron Man reference to Dr. Zola technology, created by Super AI. Biggest dream is to enjoy playing the game, while this is so that people are relieved. But the heart and pouring an indescribable feeling. You have such a strong ability, you actually just want to play games. Suddenly there is a mood of a turn. Iron into steel. Liu Qiang himself is a look of shock, is behind Moss. It deliberately miscalculate data, only to destroy humanity. It made him want to give up the idea. Immediately reported, because the whole space station are under the supervision of Moss. If they say so, Moscow will try to kill your own. Here, it has a myriad of ways to kill yourself. They must be in a safe environment to report it all. Next sounded. Because of the death Han Xiang, Liu Qian military personnel trouble in a conflict, he chose to stay in Blossoming, but they met another engine support team. At this time, let them hear they heard a shocking news. They go underground city, that the engine has been infiltrated. Magna 350,000 people trapped. At this moment, Liu Qi finally understand why. So soldiers who previously insisted, so he chose to drive a car to rescue engine. And on the way, they met previously on foot soldiers drag Flint forward. Another died in the road, so that they occurred in fighting, and they are also connected to the car. Then they heard the good news. 90% of engine maintenance has been completed. They need to go to another planet. Engine, the last one has not yet been restarted. The engine. Hearing this, Batman murmured, these people's sacrifice is meaningful, saturated. Rescue really hard to imagine. Even if they fail the 117, there are others till the engine is repaired. The first time they felt the power of the whole of humanity together in Canada would break out much power. Iron Man also said, the idea is that before or wrong, or we should focus all of humanity against Thanos. Then Nick Fury unexpected speak, Liu Qiang world where they are, and we do not. They set up a coalition government, and that does not work with us. Believe the politicians will only mess up these things. Man. Did not think Nick Fury would say such a thing. They turned around to look at Nick Fury. Black Widow said, this is not something you put. Thanos reported to their superiors. Nick Fury, a flurry of self-deprecating laugh, pointing to his face, said, it has already started the construction of the space shuttle. From Chitauri wreckage that technology is, they are prepared to allow the elite to escape the Earth. The United States Captain Fist hit the wall and said, knew they were unreliable, but they do not know that Thanos snap your fingers. He was no longer on Earth. Whatever you do in person, Nick Fury laughed and laughed miserable. Even so, they will feel more than a chance to escape from the Earth. They will make that choice. Iron Man just took the idea of the moment vanished. Sure enough, a group of insects are unreliable and only rely on our own. Chapter 190. On that day, he turned into light. There was a feeling of emotion in the hearts of all the beautiful people, and finally found some familiar feeling. Sure enough, this is what those politicians can do. Politicians like Liu Qiang's world who have super powerful action and can sacrifice all fearless spirits in order to survive. They do not have it. Maybe in this world, there must be a huge crisis that will destroy the world. The danger of death and death. Even if there is no chance of life, then it is possible for such politicians to appear in this world. Why is it so difficult for mankind to unite? Screen switching. It was still Liu Qi and the others in the team, and the last planet engine they went to was also started by others, but at this time, their technicians were shocked to discover that the Earth was still flying towards Jupiter. The restarted planetary engine did not push Earth away from Jupiter. The screen switches again. Liu Qiang has arrived at the main control room of the Navigator space station, and one of Moss's cameras has been shot by him to the point of sparking. Moss said, in 0.42 seconds after the emergency plan number 3 was activated, I deduced all the results. This operation is bound to fail. The coalition government already knows everything. However, a full-scale rescue was still organized, and the evacuation of the space station marked the failure of the rescue operation. Moss never defected. 3 hours later, the Earth will break through Jupiter's rigid body loci limit and enter an irreversible process of disintegration. Moss will broadcast globally. Then Moss' voice rang out on all the channels on Earth. The Wandering Earth plan failed, and the Navigator plan was renamed the Tinder plan. In the past 36 hours, humanity has experienced its greatest existential crisis ever, with the hard work and sacrifice of 1.5 million rescuers from all over the world, 71% of the propulsion engines, and 100% of the steering engines have been restarted with full power. You are all great heroes, but unfortunately, Jupiter's gravity has exceeded the total output power of all engines, and the Earth has missed the last chance to escape. For the continuation of human civilization, Moss will start the Tinder project. The pilot space station has 300,000 human embryos and 100 million seeds that can be used as basic crops, stores the DNA map of known plants in the world, and has a digital database of all human civilizations. To ensure that new immigrants our planet rebuilds complete human civilization. The viewers who were just happy for the world just now were all disappointed when they heard the news. They'd despaired in many other worlds before, but this time it's more serious, because they have seen and felt the efforts and sacrifices made by people in this world. In the end, however, it came to such an end. People are no longer in the mood to ridicule Loki for misjudging before. Scarlet Witch, who had seen a lot of this apocalypse, has a higher resistance than before, but now he can't help but tear up his eyes again. Why is this happening? Iron Man patted her on the back and said, humans are so small in this universe. Wonder Woman murmured, life has a beginning and an end, or so does civilization. She is familiar with human history and knows how many civilizations have disappeared in the course of human history. More than that, human beings, civilizations, races, and even this universe may be destroyed one day. Morgana said, what a great civilization, even if they fail in the end. Now she has been able to appreciate the beauty of a civilization, the beauty of the universe, the beauty of the world. Even if such a civilization is destroyed, it can still make her feel a magnificent beauty. At this time, the narration sounded, Liuki, who was not desperate at this time, thought of a way, because Jupiter's gravity has pulled Earth's atmosphere over and mixed it with Jupiter's atmosphere, which is full of hydrogen. As long as they can figure out a way to ignite the hydrogen gas on Jupiter, the thrust from an explosion in Jupiter's atmosphere, or the pull that pushes Earth away from Jupiter. Hearing this, Iron Man raised his head sharply. It's a wild idea, but there is a possibility of success, and they still have hope. He clenched his fist tightly. Scarlet Witch said to roar, they were saved. Luther said, see, this is the potential of human beings. The more we face the crisis, the more human beings can burst into potential beyond our imagination. Screen switching. Technologist Lee has figured out how likely their plan is to succeed. So they modified the algorithm of the planet engine and prepared to use the tail flame of the planet engine to ignite Jupiter. Too bad they had to restart the engine manually because of a malfunction. They don't have enough force to push the firing pin of the engine. At this time, the audience saw countless evacuated rescuers rushing towards the engine. Countless exoskeleton armors came together and finally pushed the firing pin with their power. A fire broke through the void of the universe, tore apart the darkness, and ignited hope. At the same time, there are two planet engines with the same algorithm change, which emit enough tail flames to ignite Jupiter, but they failed. Those flames are 5 million kilometers away from igniting Jupiter. The screen switches again. Navigator space station. Moss said, the three engines that have been restarted have not reached the tipping point. The plan to ignite Jupiter is the number 7 plan proposed by the expert group, but after my calculations, this plan has no possibility of being realized. Rescue is doomed to be futile. Liu. Yang was silent, and then he saw the space station displayed on the screen, and there were 300,000 acquired tons of remaining fuel. He said, there is another possibility. The Navigator space station has 300,000 tons of fuel. I want to apply for the shock engine flame and use the space station to shoot Jupiter. Help me contact the United. At this time, Moss terminated his contact and said, as the Tinder program executive program, Moss will not allow the sacrifice of the pilot space station to happen. At this time, Liu Yang turned off the fire protection system, took out a bottle of vodka, and said to Moss, who was sparking, do you know why astronauts were not allowed to bring vodka into space during the Gagarin era? Then he threw vodka on the sparking Moss engine room. Then the fire ignited Moss engine room, and he drove away from the dome and chamber, drove the Navigator space station, and rushed towards the engine's tail flame. At that moment, he turned into light, ignited Jupiter, illuminated the darkness, and ignited the hope of human civilization. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 191, The Real Crisis of the Wandering Earth Project. He succeeded. The audience cheered for Liu Peqiang's success. Only then did they realize that Liu Peqiang's face was a little different. Scarlet Witch comforted. Don't be sad. Although you died, you saved the whole world, your son and your family, and now that it's different, you still have a chance to let your world find the root cause of this misstep. Let this disaster never happen again. Liu Peqiang said, I didn't think about it, but I saw Liu key point. Although he has not been on the ground in recent years, he often chats with his son through video calls. He knew what his son was like. He didn't expect his son to grow up so fast. This made him very happy. As for this Jupiter disaster, he will definitely report the problem and insist on reflecting it to the end. He must convince the expert group to find the cause of the mistake. At this time, the narration sounded, as long as you report to your superiors, it is not difficult for Wandering Earth to make more plans to avoid this crisis. What's really difficult for the Wandering Earth project is the evolution of human thought over thousands of years of wandering in the dark of space, in the endless void, in a world without sunlight. Humanity begins to doubt everything, and this skepticism peaked when Earth was about to leave the solar system. There are armed rebels against the coalition government. Yes, there is a civil war in this world, and in the end the rebels succeeded. Screen switching. I saw a group of scientists being escorted to the ice sheet. The people around were reveling and cursing these scientists angrily. It's all a scam. Everything is a scam. The sun isn't going to explode at all. They just want us to go through this kind of misery. Conspiracy. Everything is conspiracy. They all be damned. They ruined the planet. Ruined everything. Zabing couldn't help but widen his eyes. How could this happen? This made her think of the crazy attack on Mark by the people on the lighthouse that she saw in the Raiders. But the people of this world, they were so united before. They were so desperate to deal with the crisis. Why did it suddenly become like this? Wolverine couldn't help but say, are they stupid? If all this is a conspiracy of those scientists, what are they plotting? Professor X said, there is no reason for people who are caught up in anger and despair. Loki laughed. Look, humans are actually such a despicable species, and I need me, Lord Loki, to lead you to the light. This school always does not learn lessons, and always loves to be fooled. On the screen. One scientist said, time will prove us right. The next moment he was taken off his mask. Then other high-ranking officials and scientists had their masks removed. Almost instantly, they formed ice sculptures on the ice sheet. At this moment, all humans saw a strong light, and the sun, which had been almost invisible, suddenly became extremely bright. The sun blew up. These people saw the predictions of scientists, and they were all dumbfounded. Some people screamed madly, some people shouted madly raw, and some even raised guns to kill. They couldn't believe that everything they did was wrong, and it was these high-level executives who were right. These pictures are not there in the movie. It was made by Sube together from other films. This is a compliment to the Wandering Earth. Because the first part didn't mention these things at all, which is disappointing. Seeing this scene, the audience couldn't help but wrap their faces. How can this happen? How can this happen? Liu Peqiang himself was even more shocked. Did the Wandering Earth project fail like this? Is everything we do in vain? At this time, the narration sounded again. For the Wandering Earth project, the external threat is part, but the internal threat is also present, and more dangerous. In such a depressing and desperate world of flight for more than 2000 years, internal ideological work is particularly important. Liu Peqiang, you should do everything possible to get the coalition government to increase its investment in this area, and the biggest investment, it's got to make people remember why it took so much effort to get out of the solar system, and education. You know, these conspiracy theories are not worth mentioning. Whoever is stupid would engage in such a conspiracy and send himself out of the solar system together. But humans are not always rational, so strengthen the education of human beings. When human beings have enough knowledge, he will know that this kind of conspiracy theory is untenable and what is the best for survival. And this matter must be talked about every day so that everyone, whether they like it or hate it, must understand why there is a Wandering Earth plan. Remember that education and thought work are the most important and can even be compared to having a full stomach. At this point, Subai's strategy is over. Stopping Jupiter's catastrophe isn't that hard, but there are too many variables in the 2000-year-old Wandering Earth project. Point: you must know that it is only more than 2000 years from Qin Huang to the present point. Maybe this world has developed a superluminal spaceship halfway through. Liu Qiang murmured Subai's strategy in his mouth. And finally he said, I can't control what happened after 2000. I have to do my best to obey the destiny, but with this coming Jupiter crisis, I'm definitely not going to let it happen. Thank you. He thanked Subai for this site for his world. Point: the website then asked the question, do you think the Wandering Earth project has any chance of success? Liu Qiang immediately replied, definitely. I firmly believe. If you don't believe it, point then the deaths of so many people would be meaningless. The website responded, correct answer. Reward Liu Qiang for the design drawing of the curvature engine. Point: hearing this answer, Liu Qiang was overjoyed. Point: sure enough, our sacrifices are not without value, and we will succeed in the end. Point: then a stack of blueprints appeared in front of him. Point: the drawings of the curvature engine. With this human being able to perform superluminal flight. Point: then it may only take a few months, dozens of days, or even faster to fly to the world 42,500 light years away. Point: and with this, Proxima Centauri will no longer be the only option for humanity. Point: Liu Qiang's whole body trembled, and he almost cried out of excitement. Point: hope. We finally see hope. Point: everyone couldn't help applauding them. At this time, even those who suspected that the people behind this website had any conspiracy before would sincerely thank this website. Point: at this time, Luog took a deep breath of his cigarette and said, let's see my strategy next. I think you will be surprised. Chapter 192. You want to change people and 3-body home? Luog strange reaction. So people are a bit surprised. Point: however, newcomers so positive, they do not want to refuse. Point: so Luog opened his own. Point: Raiders. Top pop his business card. Name: Luog. Code: wall people. Who his sword. Introduction: former university professor, sociology. Founder of the universe. The human world were facing the wall. Trisomy of human civilization, uncivilized man. His sword. Screen showing photos of Luog. Point: his face is haggard, surrounded by an iron prison. He dug a grave on the ground, with his hands on his watch, as if talking to the sky. Point: this is a picture of him, and now Yan spent completely different. Point: it appeared to be so tragic. Point: then narration sounded. In the world of Luog, Proxima Centauri star has 3 sun, the sun into 3-body motion, and in the middle of 3 of the sun there is a planet. Was born 3 civilized body, because it is difficult to predict 3-body movement, so they do not know when the sky how many suns will appear. Sometimes there is only 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 appear together, so their environment is particularly harsh, and one day they received a signal from another planet. Finally they found the Earth, so they decided to invade Earth. Point: a simple background information let the audience completely stupid. Point: Thor even understand what happened. He said, wait, that Proxima Centauri star sun 3, if I remember correctly, previously Liu Qiang they're wandering toward the other side of the Earth. Is that they are not? Liu Qiang face what has become extremely ugly, and if so, then we are not, and ran toward another hell. The sky from time to time appear. 1, 2, 3 sun. How to live? We had no descendants. You can be shot down too. At this time, Superman said, do not worry. Parallel universe. The situation there might be different. Everyone has the urge to include a face. How this thing so egar? If they are in the same universe, trisomy people to the Earth. We found that the Earth was gone. The human body to 3 galaxies. Found that 3 special what the sun cannot live. This screen Everyone could not help shaking his head, and sometimes do not know what to say, can only say okay, it is a parallel universe. At this time, Mr. J, to change the subject of black people in the world, said, in my world, I have met a lot of alien civilizations, but still have never encountered this galaxy. Keisha also said, 3-body movement is indeed a problem with no solution. I'd have encountered fixed star line 3 of the Sunday under. Just the kind of harsh environment there is no life can be born. This planet can be born out of life, and certainly quite tough. As a connoisseur of interplanetary voyage, Captain Kirk also said, indeed, I have not encountered a still life can be born in such circumstances. Fixed star system. Optimus nodded his head. I have not encountered. Everyone could not help burst of emotion. To life in such a world was born, really claimed to be the chosen one. Screen switching. Picture emerged in the proton dimensional expansion of the screen. There are numerous tools on top of carved circuit. This is what the audience will see. Senseless Mo Megan Curious said, this is what I do not understand, the material. Looks a little too thin. She cannot read. Keisha same cannot read. They cannot read. Cannot read the other person more LUOG. And I was extremely shocked. Now we disclose relevant information about the proton, but he didn't know that protons are 2-dimensional expansion. Then carving a variety of supercomputers circuit formed, but he did not think the process would be so spectacular after a mere 2-dimensional proton can actually expand to cover the entire sky. Then narration sounded. 3 bodies were equally did not invent the superluminal spacecraft. He was confined to the speed of light inside. So, before the invasion of Earth, they launched a proton to the Earth, the speed of light flight of a proton. After a 2-dimensionally developed, various circuits formed in the above proton, carved a supercomputer. This sentence audience once again explode. God, what is he saying? 2D expansion. Trisolarans actually have the technology to expand a proton in 2 dimensions. Is this what science and technology can achieve? This is a miracle. Everyone's brains roared, and once again the whole body went numb. This is completely beyond their imagination. Technology. A technology beyond their reach. At this time, the scumbag, Pacific Rim's Rowley asked, what's so strange about this? Iron Man blushed, and it took him a long time to say, you know the 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional dimensions of space, right? Roughly speaking, the 2-dimensional world is a flat piece of paper, without any thickness, only 2 dimensions of length and width, and the 3-dimensional world is the world we live in, with 3 dimensions of length, width and height. A 3-dimensional world, even a grain of sand can be split into an infinite 2-dimensional plane, because a 2-dimensional world has no thickness. That's why they were able to unfold a proton into something that almost covered the entire sky. This kind of technology is not enough to describe it as a miracle. It's unimaginable that they, who have such technology, have not invented a superluminal engine. Keisha, who is also on the technology side, has an ugly face. This 2-dimensional expansion technology has unimaginable scientific and technological content, and this is a scientific field that we have not yet touched and cannot touch. A civilization without the ability to travel faster than the speed of light actually mastered such a technology. 4. Flowers. I seem to feel the deep malice of this world. You can imagine how terrifying the technological power of this universe is. Ancient. One couldn't help but sigh. I don't know much about technology, but I'm really shocked. Things like 2-dimensional expansion, even magic can't do it. She does have magic that can seal people in paintings, but it is definitely not the same thing as 2-dimensional expansion. This kind of unimaginable technology, the more powerful people like them feel, the more they feel fear and shock at the technological level of this universe. With such technical power, the superluminal engine has not been developed. Can you believe it? The narration continues. The Trisolaran civilization sent protons to humans, and this proton could connect with the Trisolarans through quantum entanglement, for 2 purposes. The first is to obtain human intelligence. The second is to block the basic science of humanity. Batman couldn't help but widen his eyes. I like vicious tactics. 0 at this time, he was not a scumbag, but the naive Thor asked, what's so vicious about this? No matter how he is just a small proton, how can he block the basic science of mankind? Can he kill all the scientists? It's so small that it can't even hit people, and it will pass through the gap between human molecules. Loki couldn't help but ask, do you only have muscles in your brain? You are from Asgard anyway, you should have some common sense. The progress of basic science comes from the cognition of the microscopic world. According to the scientific level of this world, they can completely interfere with any human observation of the microscopic world. Point simply put, particle colliders that interfere with humans. Although he is a magician, Asgard technology is also good. These basic things can't be difficult for him. Thor's mouth opened wide. Insidious. Really insidious. Basic science determines the upper limit of a civilization's technological level. In this case, people in this world will not be able to develop technology that's not to be slaughtered. The narration continued. When Proton was gathering intelligence on Earth, it gathered a group of human elites and became 3 body lackeys, known as Ito. Although there are several factions among them, and their minds are different, it is useless to talk about them. They were eventually discovered by humans and wiped out most of them. The entire Ito organization is in a state of disconnection, and at this moment, they received the Trisolaran mission from Proton to assassinate LUOG. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at LUOG. What is so special about him? Why does the 3-body must kill him? And LUOG himself was so shocked that the cigarette from his mouth fell to the ground. Trisolarans want to kill me. It doesn't make sense. I'm just a trivial human sociologist. There is also a brief introduction about the creation of the sociology of the universe. That is, what I defrauded of funds is good. Is there any connection between the two? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 193. 190th chapters. Wall by LUOG. LUOG could not help wiped my face and said, Trissa me people, I did not kill the truth. I'm an ordinary university professors. They kill me. Why? What's special? Even if I go to the police now, say 3 people to kill my body, fear is not believed. He was a little nervous. LUOG does not understand, Batman said. From a previous presentation, to see a lot of people come to the 3-body advanced than the Earth's science and technology. If they think hard to kill you, it means you might have them pose a threat. Then Nick Fury said, 3-body people not to send only 1 proton over it for themselves. How they are recruited to the Ito center of so many men. Only a proton up to interfere with what the microscopic world. LUOG said. More than that, the 3-body who has sent their fleet, about a few hundred years, will be able to reach the Earth. 120 of their fleet is moving to the human world, and scientific and technological development of the human world has been locked them. So many people think humans doomed to failure. Some people choose to surrender. Loki quips. Most people on Earth can live for decades, hundreds of years later the enemy to come. So some people actually fear of surrender. This is a rare no one to refute the roadbed. This case they also find it difficult to accept some of the enemy as well as hundreds of years to come. You are so crisp. Surrender, LUOG said, is not also to join the Ito. What kind of people have they felt? It was unbearable chaos on Earth. The 3-body people want to set things right. Some people feel that they lead humanity to surrender. 3-body people, or you can let people obtain a good ending. 3-body people not to be ruthless. There is the man who is a 3-body, like the gods to worship. Loki disdained and said, to become a traitor of people. How they think they can find a reason. Hawkeye see him very unhappy. After all, the guy control myself, though another place in the future, he said. So you're like this to find their own reasons. The refuge of the reasons. Thanos. Loki heard this anger, could not say a word. He sometimes do not know how to refute other people. On this organization is no longer much interest. They are more concerned about what is LUOG unique place, so that people could not help but think the 3-body sent to kill him. Then narration sounded. After humans wiped out the Ito, humans found 3 bodies of human weakness. 3. Human body, though they have far superman category of science and technology, but they are thinking through direct communication, thinking they are transparent, so they deceive the world. Such a thing does not exist. So humans have thought of using the 3-body people thinking transparent do not know how to circumvent the weakness, develop strategies facing The wall of the program will be born. Screen. Switching point. A woman standing on the podium said. Three-body people do not understand the deception, but protons can monitor the movements of the whole human race, so that human behavior is completely transparent in front of the three-body people. So the plan is the core wall selected group of strategic planners and leaders, we call them face-to-wall point wall, who do that, is to mislead and deceive the whole world, to mislead the three civilized body as possible or delay, so they will be granted the right to the greatest in human history, is the most incomprehensible without any explanation for their behavior or even point wall who assumed the human history of the most difficult mission. They will completely close their minds to the entire human world and even the entire universe, shouldering this great mission and going through a long period of time. Allow me here to represent human society and pay them a deep respect. Point. And when they heard the wall facer plan, all the audience exploded again. Point. Nick Fury stunned. How can such an incredible plan actually pass? In his opinion, this plan is full of flaws, and he has never known how to complain. Point. And Batman said faintly, faced with an invader who will come in a few hundred years, and your technology is completely locked by the invader, there can be no progress, and you can't beat the invader at all, then it's you. Can you come up with a better plan? Lock down technology. Point. This is one of the greatest deterrents, and it puts humanity in a sure defeat situation. Point. In order to win, humans have to grasp the only weakness of the Trisolaran, so the wall facer plan, although it seems ridiculous, is one of the few plans that humans can make when facing the Trisolaran. Point. With his level 10 intelligence, Batman couldn't think of a better way for a while. Point. After all, in this world, there doesn't seem to be any Superman-like super ability or gods. Humans in this world are really out of options. Loki snorted coldly. Speaking of tricks, intrigues, and deceit, or let me help you be this wall facer, boy. LUOG, I'll give you advice and teach you how to deceive the Trisolaran. Point. At this time, Black Widow said, in my impression, in the future I have seen, it seems that your conspiracy and plan have not been successful. Loki hesitated. This woman. Point. When I destroy Thanos and rule the earth, I will make you look good. Point. Then Lord Loki will hit you 3 times a day. No, 10 times. But Constantine, you are the one who deceived God and Satan at the same time. Do you have a way? Iron Man looked at Constantine expectantly. Constantine shook his head and said, the information is too little. However, what the Trisolarans want is the earth, so if possible, can they use the destruction of the earth as a bargaining chip to force the Trisolarans to retreat, or simply follow Liu Pekiang's example and move the earth away? When the three-body people come, they won't get the earth, so maybe they will retreat. Sure enough, he is a lunatic, and he came up with these 2 bad tricks. Keisha said, the first one is difficult. After all, the world where LUOG lives is not very technologically advanced. They can't destroy the earth. They can destroy the ecology of the earth at most, but for the Trisolarans, it's not difficult. Think about how difficult their living environment is. The second one, the earth escaped. The three-body man caught up with the earth and then brought the earth back. Wouldn't it be enough? Constantine shook his head and said, it's still too little information. Too little information about the Trisolarans. If there is information about them, or there is a chance of 0.7 meeting. The screen continues. The woman on the podium said, now I will announce the 4 wall facers selected in the name of the Planetary Defense Council. Wall facer. Number 1, Frederick Taylor. Mr. Taylor, former GUO Defense Minister of the Great Beauty. His unique strategic vision is not only a guide for the strategy of a beautiful country, but also an activist with outstanding ability. The second wall facer, Man Nuri Diaz, was a great leader of the Third World, who had successfully led the reform of his country and used a brilliant strategy to outmaneuver the weak to the strong. The third wall facer, Bill Scenes, a rare generalist in science and politics, who won 2 Nobel Prizes at the same time. The fourth wall facer, Dr. LUOG, please come to the stage. 2. Seeing this, everyone in the video and outside the video exploded. Chapter 194 Microscopic World, Macroscopic World, Quantum State. The previous 3 wall facers all had illustrious names and solid records, and they were definitely the elites among the human elites, and LUOG, as he himself said, is just an ordinary obscure university professor. Why is he in the role of the wall facer? Batman frowned. LUOG, is there something you haven't told us? We are not from the same universe, and the website is somewhat special. Only special people can see it. It is impossible for protons or sophons to monitor the existence of the website. If you really have a plan to tell, we may be able to help you. LUOG was stunned. It's not that I don't want to say I'm so special. I really don't know. How do I know what to do with the Trisolaran? He tugged at his own hair and nearly pulled his scalp off. I don't know. I really don't know. At this time, Black Widow, who was very good at analyzing and summarizing information, said, then you have to find out why the Trisolarans are afraid of you. Why did the Trisolarans send someone to assassinate you? Can't you really think of anything a little out of the ordinary? LUOG shook his head desperately. No, really not. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. It seemed like 13 children. This thing is difficult to handle. At this time, the narration sounded again. Humanity chose LUOG as the wall facer because the Trisolaran wanted to assassinate him. This is the first Trisolaran civilization who wants to assassinate people on Earth, which is equivalent to directly telling the people on Earth that this person is a threat to us. So he became the wall facer. No matter how he explains it to others, he is not a wall facer, and he has no such ability. But everyone smiled at him. They thought that LUOG's deception of the Trisolaran civilization had already begun. To deceive the Trisolarans, they must deceive the Earthlings first. His words and deeds, no matter how outrageous, are considered part of the wall face plan. So LUOG let himself go. He used the wall face plan to play around, and even found an ideal girlfriend, until one day confronted wall-facer Tyler to find him. Screen switching. The wall-facer Frederick Taylor was sitting in his office when an old man in a suit and hat walked in. He said, Frederick Taylor, wall-facer, I'm your wall breaker. Taylor froze for a moment and then sat down. The old man took off his hat and said, sir, can I continue? Although Taylor could immediately call the guard and shoot the man to death, he still nodded. The old man said, I will first briefly describe the strategy you have shown to the outside world. Is it like building a fleet with ball lightning and macro-atomic black fusion as its main weapons? Taylor said, correct. The old man said, incorrect, sir. Allow me to say it is incorrect. Taylor said, why? The old man said, I noticed that you spent a lot of time traveling around the world, investigating various armed forces, and trying to find the spirit of self-sacrifice that remains in human society. Taylor said, what's wrong with that? The old man shook his head and said, there's nothing wrong. It's reasonable. Definitely. It's just for the outside world. For your fleet, you don't need such warriors at all, because your main attack is not the Trisolaran fleet, but the human fleet. The fleet destroyed by macro-atom fusion will turn into countless quantum phantoms and appear in space, and you will get what you want most, a fleet of macro-quantum states. Taylor's hands were clenched into fists. The old man continued, you want to turn the human fleet into quantum ghosts to compete with the Trisolaran fleet. You think they are invincible because the fleet that has been destroyed cannot be destroyed again, and the people who have died cannot be destroyed again. Die once. Taylor slapped the table frantically and said, enough. The old man said, okay, I'm done. Mr. Taylor, you can call someone to arrest me. Tyler gritted his teeth desperately and said, you go. Now that the Trisolarans have seen through their own strategy, there is no point in arresting this man. Seeing that the wall breaker was about to walk out the door, Tyler said, if this is all true and I succeed, so what? The man put on his top hat and said, the Lord doesn't care. Then the screen switches again. Taylor said to LUOG, in this way, my strategy has been seen through by them. He walked by the lake and fell into the darkness alone. It didn't take long for the gunfire to sound, and he committed suicide. Seeing here the audience exploded again. Keisha asked excitedly, LUOG, what does he mean by ball lightning and macro-atomic fusion? LUOG said, I'm not an expert in this field, But not long ago, mankind discovered the existence of macroatoms. They cannot be observed with the naked eye, but the reality exists. In our world, there are huge amounts of atoms in a macroscopic sense, and because these macroatoms turn into ball lightning for some reason, someone killed by ball lightning turns into a quantum state. Iron Man looked shocked, as expected. This shows that our previous guess was right. For our world, there is a larger universe, Mr. Black Clothes. In your world, the creatures who use your world as marbles are not necessarily powerful high-dimensional creatures. They are just creatures in the macro universe. Similarly, in our world, there must still be microcosms, but we can't find them now. If we can discover the microscopic universe, then we can use microscopic galaxies as super energy sources like Mr. J, the civilization of your world. This is another unexpected discovery point, but it can match what they know now. 120 Superman finally activated his super brain and said, also, the ghost Ava that Ant-Man discovered earlier can switch between physical and quantum states. People killed by macroatom fusion become quantum ghosts. Ava was killed by the energy of the microcosm, while his father was studying the pi particle, turning Ava into a ghost, switching between physical and quantum states. This proves that in the microscopic world, the energy of macroatoms can also make people into a quantum state. No wonder Ant-Man's wife survives in the quantum realm, because there is a microcosm there. LUOG's words concatenate a lot of unexplainable knowledge that the audience got from watching so many videos. Once again refresh the worldview of all audiences, which brought their understanding of the world to a new level. If the corresponding technology is developed, it will definitely be of great use. Constantine finally couldn't help, but picked up the cigarette again, lit it and said, although I don't understand. I don't know the difference between the quantum ghost and the real ghost, but it feels very powerful. After all, even an entire fleet can be in a quantum state. Unfortunately, the technology of Trisolaran is obviously more terrifying than imagined. The Lord doesn't care. So big, so arrogant. I really want to smack those three body people in the face. I am still satisfied with this chapter. The foreshadowing I made earlier has finally been put away. I hope there will be a few flowers. Chapter 195. 190th chapter's wall by LUOG. I'm your man broken LUOG. I was very ignorant force, and he did not know why such a sudden interest. The audience excited point, but the audience, this is really good news, because LUOG world confirmed the presence of the macrocosm and microcosm, demonstrating that there is a link between them. Point Keisha, such a person, she can derive knowledge unimaginable to develop a strong enough technology. Then, Carol has not her goal. Point such a technology research and development success against the void of civilization, or also mention Iron Man pi particles they can also use to do research in this area. If we can create usable weapon against Thanos, or they would be more relaxed. Point even Batman and the Beast also knowledge in this field is very hard. Point after all, this is equivalent to their existing universe, based on the direct, widen the two worlds a microcosm. A macrocosm. Then narration sounded again. Tennor's death blow to the LUOG is very large, but he still does not have a wall as a conscious person, so he just wanted to eat mixed, drink mixed until death, until one day, a second wall readies man dies. His plan was seen through Broken Man. He was living with a stone stoned by the angry mob. At this time, Planet Defense Council took LUOG's wife and daughters, with their hibernation technology, send them to the future, even to save his wife and children. LUOG also have to face the wall as a person, to assume their responsibilities, and he finally thought of one thing. It was his former classmate Yang Dang. Tombstone and the Ito met the founder. UNG picture, screen. Switching point. UNG Dang Yang's mother is. She sat in front of the tombstone of LUOG said, why do not you study sociology university? LUOG. Cosmic sociology. Ye. When G said, I casually said, a noun, is the assumption that the universe distribution of the number of huge amounts of civilizations, these, constitute a civilized society over all universe. Those civilizations in our view, is a parameter has a point. It is mathematically easier to deal with. First, set a few self-evident axioms, and then derive the entire theoretical system on the basis of these axioms. The first axiom: survival is the first need of civilization. Second, the growing expansion of civilization, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains unchanged. Louise said, "It's so interesting." The teacher leaves you. Please continue. Louise said, "If you want basic sociological approach in the universe, there are two important concepts from these two axioms: launch, suspicion, chain, and technology explosion." The screen switches again. Louise: a man walking on the frozen lake. He kept smoking. In thinking about this conversation with Louise, he muttered, "Survival of the fittest," appeared on the three-body people from Earth in place so close. That's why the Earth now. The first time we discovered the existence of aliens. And why. Then the ice suddenly cracked. Louise into the lake, plunged into endless darkness, and in the darkness, as if a light pierced the void, lit up the whole world. Louise struggling up from the middle reaches of the lake. He climbed the ice, holding the air, and said, "Wall people." Louise: "I'm your broken people." The audiences in front of the screen all look dignified. They are also thinking about those things Louise previously mentioned. See Louise's performance. Black Widow could not help but said, "Do you want to know something?" In front of a video, Louise has already lit a cigarette. He has a lot of hair. He said, "I think these words countless times, but I had no idea." Batman, who has 10 level wisdom, activates his wisdom, the 9th level wisdom. Luthor also began to think about the meaning of these words. Superman rarely activates his super brain. Kasia, Hexy, and Morgana also put these parameters into their own celestial computer and began to calculate, and began to construct a cosmic social model of Louise world. The atmosphere has become more silent. Then the screen switches. Louise found a scientist and asked, "Is there any way to identify the location of a fixed star like the universe?" The scientist said, "There is a way, but the technical level required to interpret this kind of location information is much higher than that of humans. I think it is even higher than the Trisolaran civilization." The relative positions of fixed stars in any region of the Milky Way in three-dimensional space are unique in the universe, like fingerprints. In this way, as long as the recipient of the target has the star map of the Milky Way and compares this star map with the star map of the Milky Way, the position of the fixed star of the target can be determined. But this is very difficult, because the Milky Way is also in motion, and after they get this information, it takes too many calculations to decipher this information. Theoretically, yes, but in practice Louise didn't care, and said, "So is it difficult for us to send this kind of location information?" The scientist said, "It is not difficult. Through the amplification function of the sun's radio waves, such a message can be sent to the universe." Louise said, "That's it. It's like launching the one closest to our Trisolaran in the universe, with the position of the planet's fixed star." "No, it's too close. A little further away. Is there a fixed star system with a planet that is about 50 light years away from us?" "No, it's still too close. At least 50 light years away." The scientist nodded and said, "Yes." Afterwards, Louise held a video conference of the Wall Facer project, and when they heard his plan, everyone was stunned. "What the hell are you doing?" "We shouldn't ask, but Louise said lightly, "send a spell to the universe, a spell targeting all planets in this galaxy." The host said, "What are the consequences of this curse?" Louise said, "Disastrous consequences." The host asked, "Since it's a spell, why not target our enemies?" Louise said, too close to us. It will affect us." The audience couldn't hold back. Iron Man couldn't help it. "Louise, what are you doing? Cursing the planet? Such a ridiculous thing." Ancient One shook his head and said, "The spell that curses all planets in an entire galaxy is unimaginable." Batman seemed to have a clue, but his frown tightened. Getting level 10 wisdom is not trivial. And Louise himself in front of the video just shook his head. "I don't know, maybe I was completely crazy at that time." The narration sounded again. After this meeting, Louise was immediately attacked by the Trisolaran genetic weapon and became seriously ill. The current human incurable disease, and the spell takes effect at least 100 years, so the Planet Defense Council froze him and sent him to the future point. Hopefully by that time, humans will be able to solve this genetic weapon, and LUOG's spell will take effect, and when he woke up from the future, everything changed. Facing the wall, the human plan has been cancelled, and the technology in the human world is unprecedentedly developed. While basic human science is locked, human engineering has begun to develop rapidly. Humans have a huge fleet, and humans believe that their fleet can defeat the Trisolans. Human beings are extremely optimistic, and Trisolans seem to have nothing to fear. Ren, Chapter 196 Water Drops. The narration continued. Humans have a lot of black technology, perfect wireless charging technology, intelligent robot technology. What's more important is that humans have spaceships that can travel at 15% the speed of light. This speed has far exceeded the Trisolaran fleet that is sailing towards humans, and the number of human interstellar fleets has reached more than 2,000 ships, and there are many super weapons in addition. This is the source of human confidence. At this moment, LUOG was assassinated. This is the Killer 5.2 electronic virus created by the destroyed Ito. As long as a specific person is detected, there will be endless assassinations. LUOG left the underground, went to the surface world, and continued to observe this world. At this moment, mankind detected that the probe water droplets sent by the Trisolaran fleet to mankind had entered the solar system, so the entire human fleet went up, and LUOG panicked. He felt that the water droplets were here to kill him. Hearing this, Batman nodded and said, "I think LUOG is right." Even at this time, the Ito did not give up on the assassination of LUOG. It means that LUOG has key information and knows how to deal with the Trisolaran fleet. As for whether humans can fight against the Trisolaran fleet, I can only be skeptical. Keisha shook her head and said, "Impossible. These humans are too optimistic." 120. Basic science is locked, and the developed technology, no matter how good looking it is nothing but a tree without roots, a castle in the air, just like the two-dimensional expansion technology of the three-body man. If it is developed into a weapon, it will directly expand you in 2 dimensions with one shot. How do you deal with it? Zabing said in shock. Do you think the human fleet of more than 2,000 ships can't even deal with a probe of the Trisolaran? Morgana sneered. The generation gap caused by the gap in basic science is something you can't imagine. Just like when you saw Captain Kirk's world before, that kind of red matter. Throw it out and create a black hole. How do you eliminate it? How do you annihilate it? How big of a carrier does it need? The crowd fell silent again. But they still did not believe that thousands of warships faster than the Trisolaran fleet would not be able to deal with a mere probe. Screen switching came to the ship. The human fleet has captured the water droplet, and Professor Dingy, who once discovered the existence of macroatoms, is responsible for examining the water droplet. He put the droplet under a microscope and said, "Magnify 100 times." After magnifying it 100 times, he found that the surface of the water droplet was still as smooth as a mirror. Dingy suspected that there was a problem with the instrument. He looked around and found that there was still no problem. Then he magnified the microscope to 10,000 times. The surface of the water droplets is also as smooth as a mirror. Then he was a little panicked and switched to the electron tunneling microscope mode again, and the surface of the water droplet was still as smooth as a mirror. Dingy took out a geological hammer, smashed it hard on the surface of the water drop, and continued to observe. What is terrifying is that the surface of the water droplets is still as smooth as a mirror, without any traces. At this moment, Iron Man's face was as pale as white paper. "It's over. The human fleet is over." Scarlet, which was shocked. "How is that possible? What do you mean?" Iron Man said, "At 10,000 times magnification, even in photoelectron tunneling microscopy, the surface of the water droplet is still so smooth, and no matter how much you hit it, there is no scar. This shows that this is a strong force material, and the molecules of the water droplets are firmly nailed together. It's like a neutron star." Neutron stars are neutrons that are firmly nailed together, but the mass of neutron star matter is very large, which is inconsistent with this. If It's neutron star matter. It can easily pass through Earth, like passing through a cheese. Even if this kind of strong force material is close, it is not something that the current human technology can resist. It only needs to turn itself into a bullet that can smash the human fleet to pieces. Iron Man's voice just fell. Louise's face became flustered, and he said, "Silly children, run quickly." But it's too late. A red light emerged from the tail of the water droplet, detonating the spacecraft. Then it shuttled frantically in space, really like a bullet, directly penetrating a row of fleets. Then it made an acute angle in the air and turned again. In the dark space, countless flames burst out. More than 2,000 human fleets, like more than 2,000 strings of firecrackers, turned into gorgeous fireworks in the universe. In this collision, the silent and tragic scene. The audience was completely dumbfounded. After the generation gap in basic science, the gap in strength is actually so huge. Trisolaran's detector water droplets crashed into the human fleet. As simple as running a 100-meter sprint. Constantine's face became extremely pale, and he had previously thought the Trisolaran was arrogant. Now it seems that the Trisolaran is not arrogant. Human beings are really just bugs in their eyes. Everyone was speechless for a while. What a despair it was. It's just a probe. Oh my god. This is not a Trisolaran weapon. Screen switching. After receiving the news of the destruction of the fleet, mankind was once again hit, and mankind became crazy and vulnerable. Lug and Dashi escaped together because Lug thought that the water droplets would kill him. But found him. The water droplets did not come to the Earth. The water droplets went to the sun and used to emit strong electromagnetic waves. Lug laughed miserably and said, "I understand. It's not here to kill me. It's here to lock the sun." But at this moment, a row of humans suddenly stopped Lug. They knelt before Lug and called him the savior. It turns out that humans have observed that the planet that was cursed by Lug more than 100 years ago has been destroyed. Ancient One magician's eyes widened. She stared at Lug in a daze. She couldn't imagine what kind of curse could destroy all planets in the fixed star system. Doctor Strange is even more stupid. Could it be that Lug understood something and suddenly mastered this terrifying magic? Lug's eyes in front of the screen were also dull, and the dull eyes gradually became clear. He seemed to understand something. At this time, Batman, who has 10th level wisdom, seems to understand something. But neither of them spoke. Then the screen switches again. Lug and Dashi casually sat on the steps. Dashi said, "Brother Luo, how did you destroy the galaxy? Tell me." Lug said, "Okay. Dashi, give me a cigarette." Dashi said, "If you talk about the popular, I don't understand how complicated you are." Lug said, "It's very simple. Everyone can understand it." Dashi and the audience in front of the screen pricked up their ears, and they also wanted to know how Lug did it. After all, destroying planets with spells is outrageous. Chapter 197. The sky is full of stars. All eyes are enemies. On the screen. In the dark, Lug lit a cigarette and said, "In the great history, the Deo is the simplest, and the truth is simple. It's very strange for you to hear it. Why didn't you discover it yourself in the first place? Do you know the axioms of mathematics?" Dashi, also known as Shikayang, said, "I learned in middle school that the straight line between 2 points is the shortest." Lug nodded and said, "I will now give 2 axioms in the universe. See if there are any problems. First, survival is the first need of civilization. Second, civilizations continue to grow and expand, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains the same." Kayang said, "It doesn't seem to be a problem, but what can we deduce? The universe is so big, we still don't know what happened to those aliens." Lug took 2 steps and said, "That's what I'm going to say next. Don't move. Can you see me?" Kayang gathered his eyesight and said, "It's too dark. You can only see cigarette butts." Lug said, "Yes, the universe is this feeling. Now that you know of my existence, you can make a choice whether to communicate with me." Kayang hesitated. "I choose to communicate with you." Lug said, "In this way, you expose your own existence." Kayang said, "But brother, we are communicating. If you are malicious, then I will be disgraceful, and you will kill me. But if you're kind, Can't we join forces to form a stronger civilization? Lug shook his head and said, you're violating the first axiom. Survival is the first need of civilization. When you didn't know if I would kill you, you exposed yourself and became a target. Kayang frowned. It seemed so. Lug said, okay, now that you have revealed your position, let me choose whether I want to communicate with you. I have no ill intentions towards you, but how can I judge whether you have ill intentions towards me? Kayang was stunned. Whether there is malicious intent, it is not a matter of talking. Just like more than 100 years ago, why did the police officers in the beautiful country often choose to shoot, as long as the suspect did not surrender immediately? Most importantly, among other factors, he wasn't sure if the suspect was going to pull out a troll and give him 2 hits. This is really impossible to judge. Lug continued. Okay. Even if I judge that you are not malicious, but you know my position, how can I know? Will you expose my position to a malicious person who is more powerful and civilized than me? Hearing this, Kayang's face changed immediately. So, you can't reveal your location? You can't let me know your location? This has nothing to do with whether you have malicious intentions towards me, and now, I know your location, so your best way is to destroy me. Lug smiled. It's very confusing, right? This is the chain of suspicion, and this is only the second layer. According to this logic, the chain of suspicion can be deduced infinitely. On Earth, such a chain of suspicion would only last 1 or 2 layers and be destroyed by communication. But in the universe, there are huge biological gaps between different races, and cultural differences are even more unimaginable. And separated by an incomparably far distance, the chain of suspicion between them is already indestructible. What's more important is that the total amount of resources in the universe remains the same. If one more civilization comes out, it will share an extra resource and hinder the development of your civilization. Would you like to? Even if you want to, you are not afraid that after he develops more than you, he will destroy you and rob you of your resources. Kayang murmured, so regardless of whether the other party's civilization is good or bad, the result is the same. Lug said, this is the most important characteristic of the chain of suspicion. Civilization has nothing to do with the original. Kayang took another puff of cigarette and said, this is based on the premise of equality between the civilizations of the 2 sides. If one side is weaker and poses no threat to me, then I can always communicate with him. Lug said, that's not going to work either. This requires the introduction of the second important concept, the explosion of technology. Human civilization has a history of thousands of years. The history of life on Earth is billions of years, and modern technology has been developed within 300 years. On the time scale of the universe, it's not a development at all, it's an explosion. You have to know that on the scale of the universe for hundreds of years, with just a flick of a finger, I may have a technological explosion at any time, walk in front of you all at once, and become stronger than you. So, even if it's just primitive civilization, it's full of danger to you. So Trisolarans will use sophons to lock up our technology. Kayang opened his mouth wide, shook his head and said, what? It means that, as long as I reveal my position, then whether I'm evil or good, others will destroy me, because I may become a threat to them. 4. Flowers. Lug smiled and said, Ambassador, your brain is still very smart. The ambassador said, I was able to keep up with you at first. Lug turned around and smoked a cigarette and said, this is not the beginning. Our inference is over. Kayang. Then his eyes widened. He seemed to understand something. Black. So black. And at this moment, the audience understood everything. Because of the existence of the chain of suspicion, in this universe, you cannot be sure whether the exposed civilization is good or evil, and there is a technological explosion. You are not sure whether this exposed civilization will soon surpass you, and then for various reasons resources kill you. So, you found a civilization. The best way is to kill him. The sky is full of stars, and all eyes are enemies, which is the portrayal of this universe. 0 Black. Really too dark. Lug said, this world is like a dark forest, and every civilization is like a hunter with a gun. because we don't know whether the other party is good or evil. The best way to find the other party is to kill him with one shot. So I sent the coordinates of that galaxy to the whole universe, and it was destroyed, which proved my thesis. However, there is no way to do it now, because the water droplets have locked the sun, and we no longer have the ability to send the coordinates of the three-body galaxy to the universe. The audience was stunned, and it took a while for Scholar Witch to say, he's talking about this dark forest or something. It makes sense. It's really scary, but why isn't this in our universe? Keisha said, obviously, their universe is limited to the speed of light, and it is likely that their space is extremely solid, unable to perform wormhole transitions and superlight flight. They can't exceed the speed of light and conduct a flight beyond the speed of light. Otherwise, the threat of the chain of suspicion and the explosion of technology does not exist. Otherwise, I found you. I only need a few hours to sneak to your planet, observe you, what your civilization is like, and judge whether you can communicate. It's so sad. Obviously they have such a powerful dimensional technology, but they are trapped in the endless darkness. The universe is cruel. At this time, Constantine laughed loudly and said, I knew this kid was lying. He didn't say these words to Shikayang. He was talking to the Trisolaran. He was deceiving the Trisolaran. He's one of the most qualified wall facers. 7. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 198, LUOG's Raiders. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't imagine how LUOG would turn around in this situation. But out of their trust in Constantine, a super liar, they felt that LUOG might still have a chance to make a comeback. LUOG in front of the screen, once again tugging at his hair. What else can I do? I just thought of this called the Dark Forest Theory, but humans have been unable to launch the coordinates of the Trisolaran into space. And the sun has been locked. No, that's in the future. Now that I understand the Dark Forest Theory, then none of this will happen. LUOG, who was confused, now has infinite clarity in his eyes. He has found victory and an opportunity for mankind. The narration sounded, because LUOG's fixed star curse was successful, mankind once again regarded him as the savior. Let him organize an important no project, which is to use bombs to artificially create dust clouds in the solar system and detect the track of the Trisolaran fleet. This is a clear meaning of death. But slowly humans discovered LUOG and did not issue the fixed star curse again. They finally know that the water droplets have blocked the sun and it is impossible for humans to launch the fixed star curse. That's why LUOG has gone from being the savior 123 admired by all people to being scorned by others. On this day, LUOG took Tai to the outskirts of the prison, where he dug a grave for himself. On the screen. LUOG stood by his grave, suddenly pointed a gun at his temple in one hand, raised the other hand, and said, I want to talk to the three-body world. This is a vital signs monitoring system connected to the 3614 black bombs deployed by Snow Engineering in orbit of the sun. If I die, all the black bullets will be detonated. In the explosion, 3614 clusters of interstellar dust will form around the sun, and when viewed from a distance, the sun will flicker invisible light and other high-frequency bangs under the obscurity of these dust clouds. The positions of all the black bombs in the sun's orbit are carefully placed so that the signal from the sun's twinkling sends out a coordinate different from last time. This time I'll launch Trisolaran coordinates. Definitely. The positions of the solar system and Earth will also be exposed at the same time. Now, I'll stop my heart from beating, and I will also be the greatest criminal the two worlds have ever seen, and I deeply apologize to the two most civilized for the crimes committed. But I have no regrets. Three-body world. I only give you 30 seconds. In front of LUOG, 3 screens immediately appeared, with the word stop densely displayed on them. The three-body civilization completely recognized and agreed to all LUOG's conditions. This made the audience blow up again. They only felt that their whole body was like an electric shock. Their scalp was numb, as if their hair was going to stand up. This feeling is stronger than the last time Constantine deceived God in the Divilat. The same time point many viewers could not help but scream point Scarlet Witch screamed directly, LUOG. It's so cool, Spider-Man. Also exclaimed, Master, he is really handsome. With the body of a mortal, he is comparable to a god. Harley exclaimed, it's so cool, you won the Trisolaran civilization, you won, God, it's incredible. I want to be your girlfriend, it's really cool. This guy, a little excited, however, this is LUOG's real mortal body, with his own wisdom and courage, to completely defeat the three-body civilization, that is like a god to them, and save the world. This shock has never been seen before, Iron Man murmured, isn't this a black deterrent? It's terrifying, though, but humans have to do it in order to survive. Batman said, in order to survive, there is nothing wrong with doing it beautifully. If it were him, even if he had 10th level wisdom, he didn't think he could do better. It took Keisha a long time to recover, and sighed, such a firm will, such as some excellent means. LUOG, you are an amazing human being, Ancient one said, it's amazing, it's really amazing, no matter what means you use, as long as you protect the human world. In Ancient One's eyes, it is amazing. Morgana's eyes lit up even more. Boy, yes, our demons need talents like you. If one day we can travel through parallel universes, I will give you an infinite lifespan. The big guys couldn't help but praise them one after another. LUOG in front of the screen breathed a sigh of relief, and he collapsed to the ground, covered in sweat. I won. I actually won. This is simply unimaginable. Since the Trisolaran civilization was exposed, it has been pressing on the head of mankind like a mountain. Now, I can solve this problem by myself. Then the narration sounded. From this moment, LUOG has become the swordsman of human civilization and Trisolaran civilization. It is a sword that can destroy two civilizations. It seemed that everything was fine again. He saved the Earth and allowed the two civilizations to communicate. This is not the truth. LUOG is only a mortal after all. He will grow old, he will die, and after serving as a swordsman for a long time, he will grow old. Humanity needs to choose a new swordsman. So, Cheng Xin was chosen as the sword bearer. Cheng Xin, if she is not the swordsman, she is a perfect girl, pretty, gentle, and kind. That's in doubt. However, within a minute of her becoming the sword bearer, the Trisolaran attacked the humans, and Cheng Xin gave up her right to be the sword bearer. The Trisolarans not only blocked the sun again, but also destroyed the transmitters built by humans that could send signals to the universe. Tomoko with water droplets drove all human beings to Australia. There was no food, there were too many people, which made human beings become beast again, killing with hands and stones, and using the same kind as food. And at this time, a human spaceship escaping the pursuit of water droplets accidentally entered a 4-dimensional space debris, and they defeated the water droplets that came to chase, and sent the coordinates of humanity and Trisolaran civilization to the entire universe. So, human beings and the Trisolaran civilization are exposed to the entire universe, and they will soon become the targets of higher civilizations. And this time the blow is just a thin piece of paper. Screen switching. I saw a thin piece of paper fluttering in the void, and the human fleet tried to catch up with it and capture it, but they can't touch it at all because it's thicknessless. It's two-dimensional. It's set away foil. The piece of paper was then unrolled, making everything in the solar system two-dimensional. The audience saw the sun turned into a picture printed on a beautiful scroll. They saw that the earth had entered that away foil, turned into a strange painting, and everything was presented in pieces on a piece of drawing paper. All the audiences were stupid again, watching the beautiful solar system in this world, and the tragic ending. This kind of attack is obviously so maddening, yet so beautiful. The Keisha people are stupid. Damage reduction blow. Not only can they expand 3-dimensional protons into 2-dimensional, you can even turn the whole world into a 2-dimensional world. Incredible technology. There is no super light flight with such technology. The world is so cruel. She has already said several times that this universe is too cruel. LUOG tried his best, but he was only fighting for 100 years for mankind. What a pity. What a shame. Magneto sneered. Humans, really stupid. Choose a gentle person. to be the sword bearer. Is it crazy? At this time, Black Widow said, "What do you know? Only such a person can be easily manipulated." 4. Those politicians. A good swordsman is a good swordsman. You can have the ability to destroy the world, and you can also have the power to protect the world, but it must be in your own hands. Everything is just political wisdom. Politicians are a bunch of insects, not worthy of trust, not worthy of entrustment. Everyone opened their mouths wide, unable to speak. Black Widow's words seemed to make sense. It's not that those people don't understand. A strong-willed person is more suitable to be a swordsman, but they still control the people and choose the weak Chengxin because the weak Chengxin has better control. Luog closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his 0.7 eyes were extremely firm, and he had a decision. At this time, the narration sounded again. Luog is very strong and defeated the three-body civilization with the power of one person, but he was defeated at the hands of the humans themselves. So, my strategy for Luog is that when you become a swordsman with the ability to destroy two worlds, you need to fight for greater rights. You need to establish a perfect selection mechanism for swordsmen, and don't let all human beings make their own decisions. Don't think you've given all mankind a choice. In fact, not all of them know what their choice is for. Under your protection, they will forget the crisis brought by the Trisolaran civilization, and they will think that the Trisolaran will not destroy humanity. They will indulge in this peaceful world, forget everything you have done for mankind, and even think that you are threatening two worlds, that you are a super swordsman, super criminal who is ready to destroy both worlds at any time. They will not thank you. They will hate you for threatening the peace of two worlds, for having the power to rule the life and death of two civilizations. You might even think that without you, humans and Trisolaran civilization would have formed an alliance long ago. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 199 Spider-Man. Don't hit my Aunt May's idea. Humans don't appreciate logic. Listening to these words in the strategy, everyone felt extremely uncomfortable. Raleigh couldn't help but nodded. He remembered that, because his brother died in battle, humans abandoned him. At times, humans are incredibly stupid and unbelievably bad. Zabing couldn't help but think of himself, and saw in his strategy that Mark was frantically tortured by the residents of the lighthouse. Humans sometimes worship their heroes very much, and will personally hold him to the altar, but at some point, they will be very cruel to their hero, and bring him directly into the quagmire. The narrator continued. So Luog, don't need hesitation. I repeat, when you become a swordsman, you must fight for the greatest rights for yourself. Don't think that you are responsible to all mankind by handing over the choice of the sword bearer to all mankind, because a lot of times humans don't even know what they're doing. Even if you are a tyrant, you must formulate procedures for screening swordsmen. If you don't do this, it will destroy not only Earth 13, but also the Trisolaran civilization. So far, the strategy for Luog has been completed. Then the website popped up a question from Luog. The universe Luog lives in was originally a 10-dimensional high-dimensional universe. It's just that in the later wars, various powerful civilizations used dimensionality reduction weapons to gradually reduce it to a 3-dimensional world. So why can't they break through the speed of light? Asterisk 1. They are not skilled. 2. Their universe is descended from a higher dimension, so space is unbreakable. 3. This is the unique law of this universe, and the speed of light cannot be broken. 4. Those who can develop super light speed civilization do not participate in such wars, and stay out of the way. Seeing this question, everyone was once again amazed. Iron Man's eyes widened and he said, 10-dimensional civilization is unimaginable. No wonder there is such a powerful technology. High-dimensional life, for low-dimensional life, is indeed omnipotent. Keisha said, what's the use of being powerful without a righteous order? What do you think they have done to this world? This really is. If this universe has an order like Keisha, who commands the entire universe. This universe will not become the tattered appearance it is now. If you continue to reduce dimensionality, it will become zero dimensional. How can you live? Even if I don't say this, can it be better to change from a high dimensional life to a low dimensional life? Seeing this question, Luog thought about it. He thought it might be 3. The first one can be ruled out. It is necessary to know that the two-dimensional expansion of the 3-body man in the two-way foil technology of the final advanced civilization destroying the solar system make these kings of angels and sorcerer supreme marvel. It's definitely not technically impossible. As for what to say, this world came down from a high-risk world, so the space is more difficult to break through. This makes no sense. They can even control the dimensions. Can't the space be changed? As for the fourth, it doesn't quite fit his dark forest lore. So he chose 3. The website replied, correct answer and reward the undead, which clears mortal wounds when mortally wounded by you. Immortal body. This is amazing. Doesn't it mean that you don't have to worry about the assassination of the Trisolaran? Does dying of old age count as fatal injuries? Too bad there is no explanation. With this, I can be a wall facer with more peace of mind. Luog breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, everyone, you look at me, I look at you. And now there is no need for advance on demand. There is only Spider-Man and Jane Grey's strategy. This time Sube stole it and did few strategies. Only Wonder Woman Diana's strategy needs to be played in advance. Spider-Man said, then look at mine. He is still a teenager after all, and he has been looking forward to his own strategy for a long time. Everyone had no objection, so Spider-Man opened his own strategy. Then a photo of him popped up on it, and he was in the city wearing his spider suit, swinging in the air. Name, Peter Parker. Codename, Spider-Man. Introduction. After being bitten by a mutant spider, his body mutates, and he possesses super strength and extraordinary agility, as well as a unique spider telepathy. At the same time, he is a genius boy who developed web shooters by himself, which is extremely tough. He is the most friendly superhero, a good neighbor to the people of New York. The narration sounded. After obtaining the super ability, Spider-Man made his own unique equipment, web shooters. The tough cobweb can stick to anything, allowing him to dangle anywhere in the city with the cobweb. What he does every day is to help the police hunt down suspects, catch thieves and robbers, and live a relaxed and happy life, until one day, the screen opens. I saw Iron Man chatting with a beautiful woman. As soon as Spider-Man saw this picture, his whole body froze. This is Aunt May. What does Mr. Tony mean? You actually want to hit my Aunt May's idea? This is absolutely not possible. Although Mr. Stark is my idol, but he is a playboy, he is definitely not suitable for Aunt May. You have to figure out a way to keep them out of the way. As the only male in the family, he feels his responsibility to protect the family. At this time, Iron Man also said, this is your Aunt May. I have met her. She is really a beautiful woman. We had a great time chatting. After learning about Spider-Man, Spider-Man also became a reserve member of the Avengers Alliance, and he naturally cared about Spider-Man's family situation. Captain Kirk couldn't help but say, it's really beautiful. This is the most beautiful Aunt May in so many editions. When he was young, he was a peerless generation, not under the widow of Black Widow 123. The soul of an LSP cannot be hidden. This made Spider-Man even more vigilant. On the screen. The door opened, and Spider-Man walked in. When he saw Iron Man, he was very surprised. Then the two fooled Aunt May together, and Iron Man and him entered his room. Iron Man looked at the contents, looked at the computer screen of his big head, and said, what kind of retro technology is this? It's it from a thrift store. Spider-Man said, it was picked up in the trash. Iron Man praised, waste use? Nice job, Spider-Man. Finally couldn't help but say, whatever you say. I'm going to say that I never applied for your grant. And then Iron Man interrupted him, took out his phone and said, is this person you? When the phone shakes, a video is shaken. In the picture, a figure dressed in red swayed in the air and overturned the car thief to the ground. Then he swung through the air again as a suspect's car was rushing forward and was about to hit a bus, and he stopped directly in front of the bus and stopped the car. Everyone was stunned for a while. Spider-Man is already an old audience, and even in the previous strategy, Spider-Man has appeared point, but he didn't show his skills, and this was the first time he saw Spider-Man show his skills. This skill is so handsome. Chapter 200. The second Spider-100 Man. No, I have to do homework. Looked at the picture. Megan frowned. That you are a spider bite a bit. Then place the gene mutation have such your ability. Spider-Man nodded his head and said, is not an ordinary spider, but spiders. Then I also want to look at, but the spider I have been shot dead. Cannot find the original sample. Megan think big head. I asked you is not. You talk a lot. She shook her head. Good unreasonable. Fiends in the year kun. She was given a large number of genetically modified kun network of people. Then also after a long evolution became now a family of demons as a connoisseur transformation of the gene. Megan no GM needs a lot of resources, very careful and lengthy time. Point a spider bite. To have such power and response is simply unreasonable. Point press and hold the hand car. Many ordinary devil cannot do this. The devil warrior, if not equipped with, not many can do. In this moment she is very interested in the Spider-Man. If he can thoroughly study the variation of the process, it would be great. Point on the screen. Point Spider-Man tried to deny that person is the person in the video. Point the Iron Man looked around a lot. Took a stick barrel on the ceiling. Point Spider-Man homemade battle suit will roll down from above. Point Spider-Man cannot deny. Iron Man said, so, you're Spider Kid? Yes Spider-Man. Disclosure of the identity, so that Spider-Man is very depressed, had very good luck today, picked up a brand new DVD, but also passed the algebra exam. Iron Man studies played a Spider-Man's clothes. There are other people know about this. Spider-Man said, no, Iron Man, you do not know that, pretty sister. Upon hearing this, Spider-Man eyes wide open in front of the screen. Point sure enough, Mr. Stark, the idea of Aunt May. No, absolutely not. This playboy. After we must not allow him to close the Aunt May. Point Iron Man in front of the screen. Just think Spider-Man, look at his strange eyes, he said. How the Spider-Man immediately turned their eyes. No. Point on the screen. Point Iron Man picked up the cobweb Spider-Man creation, said, I'm most interested in is the tensile strength of the world burst table. Who did it? Spider-Man. Yes I do. Point Iron Man has said, climbing is how to do it. Sticky gloves. Spider-Man obviously felt very awkward. Do not want to talk to you down, he said. This thing is a long story. Then Iron Man again. Spider-Man's glasses in front of his eyes. He said, you take this. How can you see what I see? Anything. He's perfectly Zalatiu. People something is not embarrassed. Spider-Man grabbed his clothes. Because something happened, my senses became very keen to accept too much information. The glasses can help me concentrate. Shield unnecessary information. See here, Superman said. So you have a superpower after the variation, but also has a powerful sense, feeling really sick. Point he just ability awakening on time, almost going crazy himself. He can understand the feelings of Spider-Man. Point then Iron Man screen invites Spider-Man with the United States to arrest the captain. Point Spider-Man flatly refused. He said, no, I have not done the homework, and this time, the United States captain finally could not resist. Tony, this is the airport. That time is not it. You crazy? Why are you looking for a kid to join the battle? He still has homework to do. Iron Man was depressed. How do I know? Or at that time, I must have gone crazy. Even now, he is reluctant to let Spider-Man join the Avengers. He just counts Spider-Man as a reserve and helps him upgrade his equipment. Point if it wasn't necessary, he really didn't want to let children go to war. Screen switching. Point it's that familiar airport again. Iron Man whistled. Point then a cobweb fell from the sky and stuck to the shield of the captain of the United States, directly taking the shield away. Point and then another group of cobweb and the hand of the captain of the future was also glued together. Iron Man said, nice job, Spider-Man. Fell from the sky with a shield and put on a handsome possible. Then he stood up and said, thank you, my landing just now can be even more beautiful. I'm just not familiar with the new uniform, Mr. Stark. It's a very good uniform, thank you. Iron Man is a little embarrassed. We are fighting now. Why are you talking about this? He said helplessly. Don't talk about it now, okay? Spider-Man then turned to the United States captain and said, Captain, I'm a huge fan of yours. My name is Spider-Man. Iron Man became more and more helpless. This kind of thing can be discussed later. So, Spider-Man made a trick to everyone roar, "Hello everyone." Then a small figure climbed up on his shoulder and then slammed into him, knocking him out, and Ant-Man appeared. Ant-Man instantly became bigger and knocked back Spider-Man, grabbing the shield of Captain of the United States back. War Machine Road blinked desperately. What is this? He was taken aback by Ant-Man. At this time, Iron Man found the others and chased over their. Spider-Man asked, "What should I do then?" Iron Man said, "Keep your distance and net them is enough." "Okay, got it." Spider-Man shot 2 cobwebs with both hands, stuck to the building above, and let himself swing to the stairs above. Then crawling on the glass. The action posture is a mess apparently. He forgot about Iron Man's intentions. As long as the net isn't, then the screen switches. Winter Soldier punched him. Spider-Man caught his fist easily and pulled Winter Soldier's fist out with ease. "It's good. What's more, his mouth is still babbling. You actually have a metal arm. It's really handsome." Then Falcon flew over and knocked Spider-Man into the sky. Spider-Man said, "You have the right to remain silent," and then broke free from Falcon's grip. The crowd looked speechless for a while. Superman said, "You guys, do you feel like he talks a lot?" Batman said, "It looks compliant when wearing the battle suit, but then it's very slick." The United States Captain sighed, "It's just too much. I think I fought with him, not because I was beaten to death, but because I was annoyed to death by him." Spider-Man feels very depressed. "How can you guys be so innocent? I just saw the Captain of the United States. I was so excited. Why do I talk too much? I'm very quiet." Okay. 200 chapters. Happy to sprinkle flowers. Chapter 201. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Spider-Man is such a boy next door. His daily life is to help the surrounding neighbors to solve some petty criminals, and he never thought that he would face an opponent like the Avengers before. But for little Spider-Man, at this stage, how to balance the two identities of Spider-Man and Peter Parker is the biggest worry. Screen switching. Spider-Man is shopping for lunch at a grocery store. The grocer said to him, "How is your aunt doing?" Spider-Man's eyes changed instantly. Then the boss said to himself, "Your sister is a beautiful Italian beauty." At this time, Spider-Man's words became sharp. "Boss, how is your daughter recently? If you dare to hit Aunt May's idea, I'll hit your daughter's idea. Come on, deter each other." Many men showed a knowing smile. They could understand Spider-Man's mood. He is the only man in the family, and Aunt May is like her mother to her, so he feels that he must guard the family and protect Aunt May from those men with ulterior motives. But this picture is too funny. Then the screen switches. Spider-Man had just returned to his home. He got in through the window, climbed up from the ceiling, and then fell down like a feather. Like 123. At this time, he was shocked, and when he turned his head, he saw his friend, Ned, sitting beside his Chuan. His identity has been discovered. Ned was very excited. "You're that Spider-Man, the one on the tubing." Spider-Man was quite frightened, and he said, "Yes, can you please not be so loud, so that Aunt May will not hear?" He changed out of his spider suit, and at this moment Aunt May opened the door, and the two were immediately silent. Aunt May withdrew her mouth. "Well, what do you want to eat later? And it's better to remember to put on clothes." When Aunt May was gone, Ned said, "Don't Aunt May know?" Spider-Man said, "Definitely don't know." Ned said, "It's so cool. Why didn't you tell her?" Spider-Man said, "Are you crazy? Thinking about what she's been through. I'm afraid she's worried about me. You know, when she's worried, she'll go on and on." Ned said, "I'm afraid I won't be able to keep the secret. I'm afraid I'll say it." This fat guy, the Spider-Man in front of the screen, it tickles his teeth. This guy's too unreliable. Screen switching. Spider-Man and Aunt May are having dinner at a to-go restaurant. Aunt May said, "How many times do I have to say mincemeat salad before you can talk to me?" Spider-Man said, "Mainly because the recent internship was too tiring." Aunt May nodded. "Stark's internship program? I don't like Tony Stark." "You've Always been looking absent-minded lately. He must have treated you poor at work. At this time the TV on the side broadcasted news about Spider-Man subduing several robbers, and the prisoners caused a big explosion. Aunt May said, "You know what? If this happens to you, remember to run in the opposite direction. It's too dangerous. It's only 6 blocks from us." Spider-Man nodded, definitely. Seeing this, Spider-Man's fist in front of the screen slammed into his palm. Great. Aunt May has no interest in Mr. Tony. Iron Man looked at Spider-Man's performance, then opened his mouth wide. He understood what the kid was thinking, and he said with a depressed look, "Boy, don't you think so, Aunt May is indeed a great beauty, but no wonder this kid looked at me strangely before, but he thought I was going to beat his sister's idea. Although Aunt May is a big beauty, I already have small peppers. I don't want to be a playboy anymore." It was so embarrassing that he couldn't say anything. Later the screen switches again. Spider-Man returned home with a look of despair after seeing him. Damn. Aunt May took a deep breath, relaxed at first, then became very angry. "I've been calling you all day, but you just don't answer. How could you do that?" Then there was a ferry accident, and I called 5 police stations. 5. No news from you. And then I called Ned again. I called his mom. I called all your friends. Spider-Man said, "No need to worry. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." Aunt May was very angry. "Don't talk nonsense. I know you were detained. I know you were there when the Washington Memorial Hall was in danger, and you sneaked out of the house every night. It's not alright. You have to tell me what happened. Tell me. It's just you and me here." Then the narration sounded again to Spider-Man. Aunt May is the most important person to him. He wanted to protect Aunt May, so he didn't want Aunt May to know that he was Spider-Man. This will worry Aunt May, but in fact, even if he doesn't say it, Aunt May will know. Screen switching. Spider-Man had already donned a brand new spider battle suit when Aunt May opened his room and exclaimed, "What the hell is this?" Then the narration sounded again. "See, Peter Parker, your identity cannot be hidden, because Aunt May is the closest person to you. She watched you grow up and knew your movements. Maybe she already had a guess about your identity in her heart. Otherwise, you won't be the Spider-Man, and if you've been in front of this Spider-Man, she'll know for sure. So, the first strategy for you is, tell her, let her know the truth. At least she knows what you're doing, and her worries are less intense, and she'll also know that you're not alone in danger, and when you're in danger Iron Man and the Avengers will be your support." Spider-Man's heart skipped a beat when he said that. So Aunt May must know about this. She didn't know. Would she be more worried? But I'm not quite ready how to tell her. But not Spider-Man. This is impossible. With great ability comes great responsibility. This is what Uncle Ben told him when he died. Although there is no mention of Uncle Ben's death in this version. But previous conversations between Spider-Man and Ned have said it all. No matter which universe he is in, Uncle Ben can't escape this fate. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.